Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. We're at 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Carricker, Danny Mackey is under the weather today, and he is not with us. Presumably will return on Tuesday.
We feel a little guilty about this.
Yes, we do.
We feel a little guilty about this.
Kind of caused it.
Okay, I will say I haven't been around you guys since Friday, prior to me coming back,
so
obviously,
I caused
the
it
other
then.
day.
But, I mean, we had to do a show.
We're gamers.
Totally.
We're gamers. As soon as he said that his throat was sore yesterday, I was like...
Yeah, and Dan lost his voice. So,
no.
Yeah, so he's under the weather. I hope Dan feels better.
Yes,
and hopefully
Dan.
we have Dan back with us on Tuesday. We've got a full show today. Let me tell you what we got going on. We've got Lindenwood coach Jed Stugart, his team on their way to Charleston, Illinois, to take on Eastern Illinois tomorrow. We're going to talk to Greg Amsinger, who bailed on us yesterday for golf. Not a bad thing. We're going to talk to Joey V. He joins us every Friday at 8:15. We're going to talk to Jay Delsing at 8:45. We're going to talk to Mike Greenberg, a.k.a. Greeny, coming up at 9 o'clock. And we are here until 11 today.
Ooh.
No T-Mac. So we've got, they said, what? Plus, we're going to talk a little bit about Jordan Walker, and Rocc's got a hill to die on today. So we got a lot coming your way.
We do. What a treat. I have been waiting for one of these for a long time now.
Yeah, me too.
Well, we have hot food takes, fruit takes. Well, he doesn't like hot fruit. We know that much.
We already know that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know that he's going to have a more nuanced and well thought out thing to hate than Pat the producer does.
Oh, like blueberries?
Yeah, Pat the producer not liking blueberries. I'm not. I could live my life if I never ate another blueberry, but I'm not going to rip blueberries. I put blueberries in a strawberry. You get some frozen strawberries and frozen blueberries, maybe 7 ice cubes, some strawberry protein powder. And you can have yourself one very nice smoothie.
They're the perfect accent fruit,
They
right?
are,
You can put them in smoothies. Very versatile, too. That's why I appreciate blueberries. I don't, go on air and absolutely destroy blueberries because they're the perfect accent fruit. They're very versatile, as I mentioned. You can put them in smoothies. You can put them in your yogurt.
Yep.
That is delicious. Or you can have them on your own. Or you can even put some powdered sugar on your blueberries.
Right.
Delicious.
And here's an interesting thing. Brooke, I never thought of it this way until right now. But you give me a choice of pies. Strawberry pie versus blueberry, strawberry. Apple pie versus blueberry, apple. Cherry pie versus blueberry, cherry. It'd probably be at the bottom of my power rankings for pies, but that doesn't mean I dislike it.
Oh, no, I would definitely pick blueberry pie over strawberry pie.
Oh, would you? Like a strawberry pie with
Maybe
a giant...
Maybe even cherry pie. That might be controversial.
Oh, that is controversial. The strawberry pie with the giant whipped cream on top.
Oh, that's delicious. Somebody sent in blueberry muffins. You see what I'm saying
muffins,
here?
yeah.
The perfect accent fruit.
Right.
It's delicious. In a salad with blue cheese. Somebody else said that?
You do a salad, and you have some candied walnuts, sliced strawberries, blueberries, gorgonzola. You put a little salmon on there. You get some raspberry vinaigrette or raspberry hazelnut dressing. It's almost like having candy, but you call it a salad.
Yeah, you might need to check the calories on that one.
Don't worry about that.
I don't know if it's nutritious at that point, Randy.
Of course it's healthy. It's a salad, isn't it?
It's like when you get one of those salads where you just put a bunch of fried chicken and cheese and ranch all over it. I think it kind of kills the purpose of it.
Taco salad.
No, it's not healthy
Mr.
anymore.
Giant Taco Salad inventor. Real men of genius. Matthew's going to find that for us now. The Cardinals fell yesterday in their finale to the Rockies 10-8. Tough day for Ryan Fernandez. The future Cardinal closer goes an inning. He allows 4 runs on 3 hits. He did strike out 2 and only walked 1. And didn't allow a home run, which is a big thing in that ballpark. But the Cardinals fall by a score of 10-8 after leading for much of the game. Hey, this is just the way the Cardinals are. And now they'll wrap up their season with 3 games in San Francisco over the weekend and try to win 1 so that they can finish over 500.
Ooh, do you think that really matters to a lot of fans? I think it matters to the organization. I don't know.
It doesn't matter to a fan at all.
No.
No.
Because it feels like they've been 500 all season. They've actually been below 500 for a lot of the season, too, but they've just been a 500 team.
I think for Oli, finishing with a winning record is a big thing.
I think so, too.
So who do we got today? We got San Fran late tonight, then tomorrow. and then they wrap it up on Sunday afternoon. And I think every game starts at 2 o'clock St. Louis time on Sunday afternoon.
Oh, that would be nice. Miles Michaelis getting the start today.
Okay, so there's an L.
Randy.
Sorry.
We also
did
have
I
to
say that out
circle
loud?
back. You did. And we have to circle back to something else that you said. Ryan Fernandez being the future closer of the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So you're getting rid of Ryan Helsley this offseason. You're going to find a trade for him.
They aren't going to. I've been analyzing, Brooke. Are they going to pay Ryan Helsley what it takes to pay him in arbitration?
I think not. How does arbitration typically go for a lot of the players?
Well, lately, teams have been taking players to arbitration, and it's about 50-50. I would hope that the Cardinals would do what they used to do and not try to take the guy to arbitration. But there is some method to their madness in trying to develop a schism between themselves and the players.
Yeah, well, and he's already been through this process before.
Right.
And it seems like it really changed his mind. I know that we've talked about with Tyler O'Neill. It really changed his perspective, maybe for the worse. And I know that there was other things going on within the organization and Tyler O'Neill also. But it seemed like his view on the organization really soured after the way the arbitration was handled. Ryan Helsley, maybe his perspective changed a little bit, but more in a business sense of like, okay, well, if you are only going to pay me this much for this, then this is what I'm going to give you.
And I don't think there's two ways to go about the business of baseball. You can go about it in a budget manner, and everybody's trying to win. You can try to win in a budget manner, or you can try to win in a competitive manner. And I think the Cardinals now, even though they do have a high payroll, I think they're headed toward, with the reduction in attendance this year and an apparent reduction forthcoming in TV revenue, I think they're headed towards, if they're going to try to compete, it's going to be on a budget level.
That doesn't sound exciting.
It doesn't sound
Randy.
great, no.
No, it doesn't sound exciting. But then what other changes will be made, I think, is the big question there. What other changes will there be within the organization, which we're going to talk about at 8 o'clock. But I'm sure a lot of people have seen Rosenthal's article and Katie Wu mentioning, too, that it looks like maybe John Mozeliak will be staying in the same role next season.
So what sort of confidence does that engender in Brooke Grimsley in terms of trying to win in 2025?
It sounds like we're doing the same thing over again.
That's what I think we're headed towards.
It really feels like we're doing the same thing over again. And that's absolutely crazy to me because I felt like last year it was marketed as a one-off. And then this year, I understand that you were able to do better than last year, and that's fantastic. But you missed the playoffs again. Just being able to say, well, we finished technically with a winning record at the end of the season, I don't think that that's enough.
No, and that's a question that if they have a press conference next week and Mo attends the press conference, or whomever, whether it's Mr. DeWitt or whether it's Bill DeWitt III, and I will give them the question now so that they can marinate on their answer over the course of the weekend. But the Cardinals' last playoff game of victory is 5 years ago now, right? 2019? 2020, they didn't win one. 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. So they've gone 5 full seasons, the longest drought in the ownership of the DeWitt in the DeWitt ownership of the ball club. I would ask what the overarching plan is to get back to the playoffs and win a playoff game.
Yes, I think that's fair.
Don't give us every detail, but give us a plan. How do you get there from here?
So also I want to go back to, and you pointed this out a while ago, Randy, but I went back and listened to that sound from John Mozeliak. Remember, during the GM meetings, the winter meetings that they had down in Nashville, Tennessee, and he was asked about the changes they made during the offseason that going into this year, and he said himself, the expectations are high. You don't do what we just did during this offseason, just to get back to 80 wins.
Well, they've eclipsed 80 wins.
That's what I'm just saying.
Right.
Like that's not. He even said the expectations were high going into the season.
They should be very
When
disappointed.
somebody says expectations are high surrounding a team, don't you think that means making it to the playoffs?
Yes, making it to the playoffs and making some noise. I think there was another cut where he talked about not just making the playoffs, but making a deep run. By the way, the Cardinals did during the COVID year, when everybody made the playoffs, they did win a game against the Padres. I don't count really the COVID year as a legitimate playoff year, but I'll give him that. Okay, one playoff victory in a playoff game in the last 5 years.
What would your reaction be if nothing changes?
Severe disappointment on the part of ownership. This is ownership's issue now. They know, we all know where the issues with this organization lie, and it's incumbent upon ownership, if they want to maintain this fan base, the BFIB, it's incumbent upon them to make the changes necessary to get this team back to where people have their expectations. Brooke, every single generation of Cardinal fans, right now, if you were born from 1926 to right now and lived to the age of 24, you've experienced a Cardinal World Championship. And now we're at a point now where from 2013, anybody who is 11 years old hasn't experienced that. Now, we've got some runway, but this is not looking good with the way that the rest of baseball appears to have passed up the Cardinals. Now, did they fix it in a hurry in 1980 when Whitey came in? Yes. Did they fix it in a hurry in 96 when the DeWitt ownership took over? Yes. But it's not as easy to do the quick fix in baseball now, Kansas City notwithstanding, as it was when Whitey came here or when the DeWitt family came here.
Well, Bobby Witt Juniors are not growing on trees.
No, that's right.
That could change things really, really quickly. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens. We're going to talk about this, of course, at 8 o'clock so people can get their text in. They can also leave a mic drop for us. But it's just really disappointing if this will just be the same thing over again. I know that there's an obvious change with the player development side with Gary Rocc retiring, so there will be a change there, but that can't be the only move. I think we all said that when we were talking about it earlier, is if that's the only move they make, that's a disappointment.
And because of the fact that they haven't won a legitimate playoff game since 2019, I think there's got to be a level of urgency. You can't say, yeah, we're going to fix the minor league system, and then some players will start arriving on the scene in 3 or 4 years. I think you got to do something for 2025.
Yeah.
We saw it in the crowds this year. A couple of other notes for you. The Cowboys over the Giants last night, 2015, and Thursday Night Football. What a thriller that was. But Daniel Jones played okay, and their kicker was great. The Giants kicker kicked 5 field goals.
Not a barn burner, huh?
Not exactly. Daniel Jones, 29 of 40 for 281 yards. Did not throw a touchdown pass, had an interception. Malik Neighbors, 12 for 115.
Daniel Jones' inability to just really do anything exciting this season is just absolutely shocking to me, especially just moving the ball down the field. But he can't do that.
He needs a running back. If he's going to succeed, he needs a running back, and that running back is in Philly now. And one other note, and I'm just going to read this the way it is written. The end of the A's in Oakland, thanks to another sports war criminal in John Fisher. Very well written there, Matthew
It's
Rocchio.
true.
Yeah, sorry, did I say something wrong?
No, you're right.
Okay,
You're
good.
100% right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like professional liar. I can't believe that our buddy Charlie Marlowe got punished for pointing out a fact.
Yeah, sports war criminal is definitely a little editorialized, but I mean, I think it's fair.
It's fair.
It was really sad to see all of that yesterday. And I know that we'll talk about it throughout the show, but it was just so heartbreaking to see the amount of fans, all the stories that they were telling. I mean, sports is something that brings people together. It's also something that is big with family traditions. It's something that, you know, maybe your father took you to games and then you take your children to games, and to have that stripped away from you. And the craziest part of all this is that they're going to go play 3 years in Sacramento in a minor league stadium and then move to Las Vegas, ? Even though that there's no set plans for what that even looks like.
Unbelievable.
I can't believe Major League Baseball let that happen.
That's the big question. How did that happen? That's Brooke. I'm Randy, and we're off and running on this edition of the Opening Drive. Coming up, Lindenwood at Eastern Illinois tomorrow, and we're going to talk to the head coach of the Lions, Jed Stugart, plus the rest of the college football slate next on 101 ESPN. It should be a big college football weekend tomorrow night. The biggest game of the weekend is at 6:30 St. Louis time on ABC. Number 2, Georgia against number 4, Alabama. This is one that we look forward to all year long, and here we have it in week 4.
Ooh, yeah, and you don't know what to expect this year with Alabama. I'm still looking at the changes. It feels weird to be in the post-Nick Saban era, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Seeing him on the broadcasting side, we've talked about Bill Belichick on the broadcasting side. How have you felt about Nick Saban and how he's transitioned over? Because
I think he's been good.
He comes across really likable.
Yeah. So, and he's unfiltered,
yes,
and he's willing to give his opinion. I think a lot of times that's what you run into with coaches or players is that they don't recognize that they're retired and out of the sport. I don't think he cares. I don't think he gives any.
No.
And so to see him broadcasting the way he is now, is he going to be critical of Alabama? Never. But he does have, I think, some really great insight that actually helps you learn when you watch the broadcast.
And now you're ushering in the new era of college football, especially in the SEC, with Kirby Smart being the face of the SEC now.
So who wins that game tomorrow at Alabama? 2 teams that are 3-0.
Georgia.
I think Georgia, too.
I think Georgia.
But it's at Alabama. And Kalen DeBoer does not lose. Kalen DeBoer's got an amazing winning percentage in college football, so it could be him. That'll be a fun one to watch. That'll be going head-to-head on NBC with Illinois and Penn State. So Georgia, Alabama, 6:30 on ABC, 6:30 on NBC is Illinois and Penn State.
Illinois and Penn State. Yeah, that would be a really good one. I'm looking at it right now.
ILO.
Oh, I.
There we go.
Illinois and what they've been able to do with Brett Bielema, he deserves a lot of credit for what he's been able to do this season. And also just building up to this point with Illinois. They lost a lot of key players, and they're still able to come back this season and do what they're doing now. And I know that he got like a lot of flack. I don't know if you saw this on social media the other day because he talked about the whiteout energy of Penn State, as you know, that they have with their fans. But I think that for Brett Bielema, I'm happy to see this. I saw the other bad side of it when he was at Arkansas, and that was really rough to see. I wonder, I don't know if he would ever actually give an honest answer to this, but do you think that he regretted going from Wisconsin to Arkansas if he could go back and do it all over again?
I would think so. He had it going.
He did.
At Wisconsin. And especially now when you look at the 2 conferences, it's the Big Ten and the SEC. I wonder why I guess he made the move for money, but the Big Ten and especially Wisconsin, that fit his style more than Arkansas and what you had to do in the SEC to win. He wasn't going to go and beat Saban. That was the biggest thing for me with A&M when they hired Fisher and with Arkansas when they hired any other coaches and fired their numerous coaches. Same thing with A&M. They were doing it with the idea that they were going to beat Nick Saban, and that was not going to happen.
It was never going to happen.
No, a huge lack of awareness on the part of those 2 athletic programs.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, the way that people reacted with Brett Bielema there in Arkansas, it did not go over well, Randy, to say the least.
Okay, Brooke, have you gotten used to the new Big Ten yet? Can you, wrap your head around the fact that Washington is flying from Seattle to New York to play Rutgers?
No.
It's just so weird.
It's really weird. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But do any of the conferences anymore?
No, they don't. But this is the worst. Wisconsin and USC.
Yeah. No, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
You've got... otherwise, you've got old school games. You've got Oregon and UCLA, Ohio State, Michigan State. But just the old Pac-12s, the flying coast to coast on a regular basis just is bewildering.
No.
And I know it's all about TV and TV money, but still, it just doesn't make an awful lot of sense.
It is all about the money now, especially as we talked about with the UNLV yesterday. Everything is about the money now. It's a business.
And we need to maybe we need to find a different name rather than college football, because the last thing anybody is thinking about that's in the industry, whether it's players, coaches, presidents, TV people, nobody is thinking about the college aspect of this. So maybe we need to think of a different name for this sport.
Well, we know that the UFL XFL is already taken.
Yeah.
But it is a pro sport at this point.
Yeah. And I really wonder how many kids are going to school. Like the kid from UNLV. Right? The quarterback. Is he going to go to school now? No. Right? And I believe he's a graduate student still. But it seems like if you are a college student, unless you're me, you should go to class.
It doesn't seem to be what it is anymore. They're just athletes. They're pro athletes at this point. It feels like the student part is taken out of this.
It is totally taken out. And we were efforting our buddy Jed Stugart from Lindenwood. They play at Eastern Illinois tomorrow in Charleston, Illinois. And good luck to the Lions, who won their first game last week over St. Thomas of Minnesota, 61-0. And they'll try to keep that momentum going. I talked to Coach on Tuesday, and obviously, when you win 61-0, that's a big confidence builder for your team. And they're trying to get to a different league. They're obviously they're moving from Division II to Division I, and that's a 4 or 5 year process, and they're in year 3.
How did the game go, by the way? Because I didn't see you on Monday. So how did it go with all the different broadcasts?
It was great. We had a great time. Great job by Bob Ramsey and the athletic director over at Lindenwood, Jason Coomer. But we had Greg do the first quarter, and we'll talk to Greg about this in just a few minutes. And then in the second quarter, Jim Hewer, long time at 550 and 590. And Jim's first play of the second quarter was a long touchdown. He got 5 touchdowns. He got 35 points, Jim Hewer did in the second quarter. Then I did the third and had a couple. And then Glenn Cerny, the former general manager at KCLC at Lindenwood, he had the fourth quarter, and there wasn't much going on there. So 61-0 was the score, and we had a great time broadcasting.
Wow, yeah, especially with the score like that.
Oh, yeah.
You guys had a lot to do there. Can you give us like a little bit of kind of a preview or kind of a recap of how one of your calls went?
Oh, I was... I told you guys I was going to low-key it. So, it was basically, here's whoever the player was, because they tended to use backup quarterbacks too. And there is a really nice receiver for Lindenwood, Caldwell, and I say throw into the end zone, touchdown, Lindenwood. It was I did it TV. I let the pictures tell the story.
I was hoping that you would do kind of like you do like your goal, if you would have done a long one, just for funsies.
Next time I do a game, wherever I do it, I will do that for you.
Thank you.
You got it.
That will make me happy.
So college football tomorrow here on we don't have any college football tomorrow. That's weird. We've got Brewers and Mets tomorrow. We've got stretch run baseball tomorrow night, and then we've got the Blues and Blackhawks on Sunday. And we don't have any college football for a while. So, and MIZ is off tomorrow, a bye before they take on Texas A&M the following week on Big ABC, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes. We didn't even talk about this part of it, but that was a perfectly timed bye week for Mizzou.
Oh, perfect, yeah. And I think Coach Drinkwitz told us, okay, we do first 4, that's a milepost, the next 4 milepost, and then the next 4 end of the season heading into the playoffs. I think that there's a method to the madness of the way Eli Drinkwitz has his athletic director or scheduling people schedule what they have.
And now you have that rest going into Texas A&M, also where you're able to review some things going in there too after 2 close wins.
Yeah, so MIZ, ZOU. By the way, did you notice what I got going here?
No, I can't see it.
Greg Amsinger is joining us coming up.
Oh, so you're repping the Cardinals. The other Cardinals, not the St. Louis Cardinals,
exactly.
Of course.
Yeah. So, we are on the Arizona Cardinal bandwagon, and here we go.
Hey, look, I root for the Cardinals just for Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh, that's a good reason, because he's in that Herbert's Elevator Club, right?
Yes.
Got it. Greg Amsinger is next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals failed to pull off the sweep as they fall to the Rockies 10-8 in Game 3 yesterday. They will start their final series of the year tonight, 9:15 first pitch as they face off against the Giants. It'll be Miles Michaelis facing off against Landon Raup for the Giants. Raup on the season 1-1 through just 46 2/3 inning. He faces off again against Miles Michaelis. Michaelis 9-11 with a 5.35 ERA. And last night, they kicked off another week in the NFL with the Giants and Cowboys on Thursday Night Football, and the Cowboys walk away with a 20-15 victory. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Randy Carricker, Danny Mack is under the weather. Hopefully he'll be back with us on Tuesday. Jay Delsing usually joins us at this time. He's going to join us at 8:45 this morning because we're going to the celebrity line to talk to our friend, Lindenwood University's St. Louis native, the lead anchor for MLB Network, and a sensational football play-by-play man as well, the great Greg Amsinger. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I was about to say the same thing about you. I thought your third quarter last week at Lindenwood on point. You did your homework. Really smooth, but we were all expecting that, Randy. We really were.
Well, I appreciate that. You were terrific. Jim Hewer got all the touchdowns, which was great. And it was fun. And congratulations to our friends at Lindenwood, and they are our friends, for getting everybody together and kind of showing off for a little school. And we aren't a mammoth school by any stretch, but we sure do pack some punch with broadcasting.
Yeah, I was proud of it. It was an honor to be on with all of you guys. It was a fun event. I will say this. I learned something. You know what I learned?
What?
Being an analyst is the greatest job ever. Like, in the second quarter, I got to slide over and just be like the second analyst. Like, can you imagine showing up to work and be like, hey, Greg, what do you think of the weather? I think it's amazing. It's great. I really love those clouds over there. They look like dinosaurs. Okay, hey, Greg, what do you think of that car that drove by? I would love to have one someday. I like the way that person drives it. The tires are cool. Like, oh my God, what a great job that is. No traffic, no responsibility. I want to be an analyst in my next life.
I like that a lot, Greg. And we have to get you a cowboy hat. You'll be a cowboy in your next life, too. Don't think I forgot about that. Well, I wanted to talk to you about, obviously, yesterday, a very emotional day for Oakland A's fans. It was just really hard to see all of that, Greg. It was really painful to see all those fans who have dedicated so much of their time, their life to supporting the Oakland A's, and now it's being taken away from them, and you could just tell that it was something that was really hurtful. And I'm just thinking about the entire situation and how it unfolded with John Fisher and his statement about that he tried, but as we know, he cut payroll over the years, and that really kind of reduced the amount of fans wanting to come out. What do you make of the entire situation?
Well, what you said there at the end is the most powerful part of it. You know, it's okay to say you support the team, and it was an amazing thing to watch, to have them pack the Coliseum one last time. And I understand it is a painful day as a St. Louis, and we all know how awful that is when you get kicked to the curb, when a team breaks up with you. That is a very difficult thing. But you kind of fall into the master plan. If an owner's dream is to relocate and take the organization somewhere else, and to Mr. Fisher's, his side of this, he did attempt to get a new ballpark. He met with city officials many times. It never came to fruition. But if the writing's on the wall and he's not spending money on the big league product, and they're not competitive for a few years, because they were competitive, but they weren't exactly spending any money on the roster, to not attend games, to not go, because you're going to put your flag in the ground and go, we're making a statement as fans. We're going to make you're actually falling into the plan. You're not fighting back. If you want to hold on to your organization, if you really love your team, you got to go to the games. You've got to attend a big league sporting event. I'm getting pushback on this every time I bring it up. I was on the Brett Boone podcast yesterday, and he was asking me about it. And I go, look, there's a responsibility for an organization's success that's on the hands of the fans. If you don't go, opposing players notice how lame it is to go into your venue and play a Major League Baseball game. Those opposing players are eventually free agents. And if you're wondering why you can't land any free agents, and I get it in the case of the Oakland A's, they're not spending any money. I'm just saying, for other fans out there that were paying attention to what happened in Oakland, going to the games changes everything about the culture of your organization. It impacts things that you're not even aware of. And in the case of Oakland, it kind of fell into the hand of ownership who wanted to relocate. You've got to support your team more than just the last day that they're in your venue. You've got to go to games.
I think that I get what you're saying there, and I'm just going to push back a little bit about it because I kind of see it as like a pact because, as you mentioned, the fans, they buy in, they buy into the product, they buy into the players, they buy into the team. We talked about this. It almost turns into a family tradition for a lot of people where, your father brought you, then you bring your children, and then it continues on and on and on. And I think that in that pact, also in return, the team is supposed to uphold their end of the bargain, spend money on good players, be positive, active in the situation. And just seeing the way that this in particular has unfolded of where it looks like, you're going to Las Vegas and there's not even a set plan. I think that's the other part of it that's really hard to really grasp is that there's not even a real set plan on what is going to happen with the A's afterwards. I know that they're moving to Las Vegas, but even then it seems like Las Vegas isn't upholding their part of the bargain of where they're making sure everything's set up for them.
Yeah, I understand, but it's the worst ballpark in the sport. Matter of fact, it became the worst ballpark in professional sports. So the vibe of welcoming in the best players in the world, hey, the Dodgers are showing up for a weekend series. Here's Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman in a broken-down ballpark that debuted in the 60s. So you can't get a new venue to showcase your product, and you can't make any money if you've got a facility that no one wants to attend and no one wants to spend money in. It's a double-edged sword, unfortunately. If you want to make a statement as a fan base, you got to go. You got to remind people that we're here, and you can hold up banners and say, hey, sign Matt Chapman. We want Matt Olson. Don't trade him. But you've got to be there. And to not go and then be shocked that they're leaving when their attendance is at an all-time low, to me, it's hard to sit there and say, we've been a passionate fan base forever. Well, not really. No, that's factually true. That is not factually true. Maybe you were from your couch. Maybe you watched every day. But we don't track those numbers like we do attendance in the turnstile. And unfortunately, because they couldn't get a ballpark, they weren't spending money on the product, it was a negative environment to play a Major League Baseball game. I'll say this. There will be more microphones in the faces of the opposing players when they play in Sacramento in a minor league facility that will be renovated to be a Major League Baseball standard than there will be every night putting microphones in the face of the home team, the Oakland A's, going, hey, I don't know if you noticed, but attendance was down to under 5,000 tonight. Hey, what did you think of the protests going on outside of the Coliseum? All those fans that refused to go inside the game. Like, that was hitting the A's every day. Now you're going to be asking the opposing players, hey, this is your first time playing here in Sacramento. Did it feel like a minor league team? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's at least going to spin it to the other side. And this has been an impossible environment for a team to play in for 81 games.
Greg,
and now they're at least going to go somewhere more positive.
8 miles away, the San Francisco voters went to the ballot box 5 different times and turned down money for a Giants stadium. And Giants ownership said finally, okay, fine, we'll just build it ourselves. The St. Louis Cardinals couldn't get government money. St. Louis Cardinals in St. Louis couldn't get money from the state or the city. And finally said, you know what, we got a good market. Fine, we'll build it ourselves. It seems to me that if you run a business, and this is a unique business, I understand. Many franchises do get governmental subsidies to help build a stadium. But it's a business where you also develop a trust. That's a key word, a trust with your customers, a.k.a. your fans. It seems like that there is that possibility with all the money that is being made by those fans attending a new stadium that you can do pretty well. And when you look at the most valuable franchises in baseball, the teams that own their own stadiums are right there in the top 10.
100%. I totally get that. But those teams aren't the other sibling of the family. And that's what the Oakland A's are. It is what it is. They claim they have their own market, but they're sharing the Bay Area with the San Francisco Giants. And the television ratings are nowhere close. And honestly, they haven't been for a very long time. It is the other team in the Bay Area. So it's hard to believe that you're going to be a money-making machine as the secondary product of your industry in your own market. So they needed assistance. They could not use the blueprint of the San Francisco Giants and believe that was going to work for them. They needed assistance to keep that secondary baseball team in the market. So I look at this as it's unfortunate because you never want to see a fan base get bummed that their team left. But it makes sense to me that this unfolded the way it did. It's the other thing about this is it wasn't a overnight. What, we're leaving? You've got to be kidding me. Mm-hmm. This was the longest ending to a movie we've ever seen. It was like Scream 4. Have you ever seen Scream 4? It's like exactly the same thing. We knew how it was going to end, but there was just blood everywhere, and it took forever for these people to die. That is what happened in Oakland, and to me, it was just this slow train wreck. They could have stopped it, but they didn't.
All right, Greg, let's talk a little bit about baseball and a weird series between the Dodgers and the Padres. What do you expect from this series? Dodgers still trying to get home field right, but the Padres are pretty well set. They're kind of locked into where they're going to be. What do you expect from this series?
You know, first off, Freddie Freeman's ankle is incredibly important. The X-rays came back negative. I hope he can walk. Did you see that play last night?
Yeah.
Him trying to get on through first base. If he is injured, if he's not close to 100%, I'm not even thinking about the Dodgers right now for the rest of the regular season. What I'm thinking about is I believe the Los Angeles Dodgers, and whether they play the Padres, whoever they play, like they're the first team out. They're the first team in the If I had to rank all the teams in the National League that I believe could make a case to go to the World Series, right now, even Walker Buehler's start last night, 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, you're like, awesome, 1 strikeout. His swing and miss has gone away. He didn't have swing and miss. You have to have swing and miss if you're going to go deep into the playoffs. And Dodgers don't have it. You got to start Yamamoto, who hasn't gone beyond 4 innings since he come off the IL. Because if you lose, then you're going to have Jack Flaherty, who you need. I think Flaherty has to be game 2 because he could win you in even the series. If you lose against their best pitcher with Flaherty going game 1 and you got Yamamoto going game 2, then Landon, Knack, and then Walker, it's over, bro. It's over. I think the Los Angeles Dodgers pitching, if I had to rank all of the teams in the postseason, I would put them next to the just a hair above the terrible bullpen of the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks bullpen in the month of September, ERA 6.5. So I think that's how bad their pitching is. I don't believe the Los Angeles Dodgers have a shot to go to the World Series. I think they could be the first team bounced in a division series matchup because of how poor their starting pitching is, and I'm sticking to that. I really think it's a major problem for the Dodgers.
Looking at the Cardinals, Greg, for next week, I think we're expecting maybe some news to be happening, maybe some talk about transitions with different roles. And it's interesting because Ken Rosenthal has an article out right now on The Athletic where he talks about managers and if they will be safe or not going into this offseason. And he wrote, Oli Marmol appears to be safe in part because President of Baseball Operations John Mozeliak plans to return for 1 more season. I think the more surprising part of that is that last part of that sentence is that he plans to return for 1 more season, because I think some people thought he might just transition into a different role within the organization. Obviously, they brought in Chaim Bloom last year. Many people thought that maybe Bloom would be transitioning into that Pobo role. What do you make of that report?
I think Ken is always on the money. He's spot on, and I believe Oli Marmol will be back. I think there will be a major announcement of some kind. Does that mean Mozeliak immediately steps down? No. But I think the heir to the throne and the logistical approach to front office management will be laid out for the St. Louis media and public. Fans will get to know what the actual plan is following the 2025 season and who will be in control. John Mozeliak, through all of this, understands the fan base has had enough. He clearly has heard the message loud and clear. But that said, he's going to be wearing a red jacket someday. He's going to be in the Cardinal Hall of Fame. And he deserves his flowers in his own way. And after everything he's done, he's going to get one more year to fulfill this last contract, which he said, by the way, was going to be when he signed it a few years ago. And they're going to make sure this is done smoothly. Look, it's okay for an organization to honor a great employee. It's okay for that to happen. I know the fan base wants this guy fired and dismissed rudely. I understand the venom behind why fans want that. But I'm not mad at the DeWitts for recognizing the years and years of service and the years and years of winning and the years and years of playoff performances. This guy's done his job really well. And I know I come off on the show as a John Mozeliak apologist, and I'm proud of it. I'm fine with that. But the Cardinals are going to give this one more go in terms of Oli Marmol in the dugout as the manager. And we might see some change in his coaching staff. But all I know is this. I talked to Oli Marmol just a couple days ago, actually, last weekend. And he said he's more excited about his job for next year than ever before. And the things you can't get into, but he is so fired up for the plan that has been laid out for next year. So, yeah, look, after everything he's heard himself, there's got to be something coming. And if he's fired up for it, hopefully the young players and the young core that he's also been talking a lot about knows that they're going to be pushed to the front and center, and they're the actual team going forward. We'll see what happens. Maybe they're going to spend some more money. I don't know, but the Cardinals apparently, Ken's report is on the money, but the Cardinals have a plan. And in case you're wondering if they had one going into next year, they do. The Cardinals have a plan, and they're fired up to execute it.
Hey, Greg, Sunday is going to be cool. I love the way baseball plays their last day with every game starting at 2 o'clock St. Louis time.
It's the best. So MLB Tonight will be on right when all the games start. And then I believe at 3:30 Central, I will be on with Dan Plesac and Harold Reynolds. And we do it every year. And it's the final day of the regular season. We will kind of pick up the games in the 5th or 4th inning, and we ride them out to the end. And then we kind of, catch our breath. And we get the first chance to look back at the regular season. We've had some amazing moments. I'm not quite sure we're going to have as many. Maybe from a seeding perspective, the Atlanta Braves, New York Mets, Diamondback things, and Mets. So there's a lot to talk about there. But being on television with those two guys, my two best friends, has been an incredible honor for all these years. And last night's show is a great example of that. The Marlins played the Twins in what had to be the longest, ugliest game in the history of Major League Baseball. It was two teams that didn't want to play anymore, and the Twins looked like it, and they had to win to stay alive. And it was just a hideous game. Catchers catching 102-mile-an-hour fastballs, but you would throw home to get a force out, and they would just drop the ball. The very last play of the game, it was a comebacker, and it looked like a game of hot potato where the baseball looked like it was on fire. And the pitcher got rid of it as fast as he could, and he threw a hand grenade to first base like it burned his hand. Like he just threw it. And the first baseman had to go leap for it, and Jordan Wright caught it, and then had to run his foot back and touch first base by the time the base runner was running to first. And it looked like Jeffers beat it out, but Rocco Baldelli was like, hell with it. I don't even want to challenge. Game's over. It was a 13-inning massacre, and the three of us died laughing all night. So if you want to end the regular season with three buddies who love the game as much as you do, I invite you to watch MLB Tonight on Sunday. It'll be a blast.
It'll be a blast. Looking forward to it. Greg, as always, appreciate your time. Have a great day, a great weekend, and we shall talk soon.
All right. Look forward to it. See you guys.
See you, brother. Take care. Greg Amsinger, MLB Network, and a product of the Lindenwood University on 101 ESPN. Coming up, get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! TIOLI is next on 101 ESPN.
leave it.
Want to say something? We'll put it out there. If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
All right. We've got the text line open, and the text line is hot.
I wonder why, Randy. Yeah. Why is the text line just so angry right now?
That's a good question. All right. A great piece by Katie Wu at The Athletic regarding the Cardinals, and the headline is kind of troubling. The Cardinals have lost their way. Now they must fix their failure. This a quote from one of the unnamed staffers that Katie talked to in her enlightening piece at The Athletic. The quote, "We're in trouble." This is from a Cardinal employee. "This is not easily fixable within the next year or the year after. This is going to take some time," unquote. Take it or leave it, Cardinal fans will be on board with a lengthy rebuild.
A lengthy rebuild?
Yeah. This is going to take some time, a Cardinal employee says to Katie Wu.
I think that maybe if you also have the right pieces in place and it shows that maybe you're transitioning to something different than what we've seen in recent years, then I would say take it. But then I would leave it if it's a lengthy rebuild and it's just going to be doing the same thing over and over again with not much change.
Yeah, they have messed up some players. It's a really enlightening piece by Katie, and
that quote is really concerning to me because that's a Cardinals employee who is saying that's within the organization that is seeing more than even we're privy to. And then on top of that, we heard what Greg said, and then you have the report from Ken Rosenthal saying that really it seems like a lot of the same things will be in place. Maybe the coaching staff will be different for next year, but I'm trying to figure out what will be different, Randy. That's the part that I'm struggling to figure out here.
I don't know. Same employee, quote, "I don't know how this was blanked up so bad over the last few years." So great piece by Katie at The Athletic.
All right. Take it or leave it. Jordan Walker will be out of the outfield next season.
Yeah, I'll take it. I would think that the Cardinals might be inclined to move him to first base.
Well, here's another interesting layer to this. John Denton of MLB.com reporting yesterday that it was seen that Ivan Herrera was taking grounders at first. Mm-hmm. Is he going to be your first base? Are they going to have multiple first basemen? What are we doing, Randy?
All due respect, and Ivan Herrera might wind up being a pretty good hitter.
Yes.
But if he's a first baseman, he'll never be a winning first baseman. He just doesn't provide enough thump.
Yeah.
You can't have that at first base.
I do think, though, that he should be an everyday player. Now, where do you put him is the big question. You can't have him be another DH. So Wilson Contreras is going to be your primary catcher, but then it seems like they're still not fully bought in on him being your everyday catcher, of course.
I think he might be your DH.
How many DHs are we going to have?
Well, him, and then you have Pages behind the plate.
Where's Gorman?
Gorman's going to have to either learn how to be a more efficient hitter and play second base.
And then if they don't want Jordan Walker to be an outfielder, is he going to be a DH? Like, I don't understand how we're doing this.
He's played corner infield before. He could move into first base.
Yeah.
So maybe you're going to have to, at some point, have an odd man out. So whether it's Nootbaar or Donovan, okay? And then center field, Siani or Victor Scott II. Right field, Nootbaar or Burleson.
Doesn't it feel like we have like a lot of redundancy with a lot of the players there?
Arenado, you're kind of stuck, right? Wynn, and then Donovan or Gorman or Sajaci. And then you put Walker in at first. Pages with Herrera as the backup behind the plate. Contreras is your DH. And how many great players? How many all-star quality players did I just name? One? Maybe?
Yeah, maybe one.
Problems.
That is a lot of problems.
Yeah, not great. Matthew, what do we got in the text line?
A lot of stuff. People are
people embittered on a Friday morning? Don't be bitter. Be better.
A little bit, yeah.
Well, it is gloomy outside.
It is kind of gloomy.
Yeah, it is kind of gloomy.
Because there's a hurricane.
Okay, it's gloomy, and the Cardinals are going to suck for a while.
We understand.
And Greg says you should go to the game regardless. One time I had breakfast. Yeah, well, we're getting texts about that. This is crazy, though, the way people think in sports. One time before the Rams left, I had breakfast with Kevin Demoff. And by the way, he picked up the check, so that was nice of him. But one of the things I asked him, with the team being as bad as it was, I said, do you expect people to buy tickets to come to your games just because you're the National Football League? And he said, yes.
Yeah.
I think that's the way sports people think. Just because we're in the league, people should buy tickets. It has nothing to do with the quality of our product, but people get to see the other team too, and I think they truly believe that.
That's really disappointing. It also shows how out of touch that you are.
Yeah.
Because the thing is we've talked about this over and over again. Things are expensive. Things are really expensive, and if you could see that a team is not doing well, if you see a team struggling, if it's not entertaining, why would you spend money on it? Why would I go to the movie theaters to see a terrible movie?
And connect the dots. When do you draw your most fans? When historically, as a franchise, have you drawn your most fans? When the Rams had the greatest show on turf, you couldn't get a ticket.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
the
how
Blues
it
win the
works.
Stanley Cup. The Blues had a waiting list the year after they won the Stanley Cup.
And I think that's one line, again, I disagree with the overall opinion, but one line that Greg had was they played into his plan.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah. But he's right.
Yep, Rams did the same thing.
Same thing, and you know what? Partially, especially with the Rams, the media played into it too by tweeting out pictures of look at the attendance here. While we're talking about a 1-in-15 squad. Take it or leave it. Travis Kelce retires after this season.
Take it.
Oh, I'll take that.
Yep.
Take it or leave it. He's
to become a husband and dad.
I was going to say, take it or leave it. He's married to Taylor Swift within the next 2 years.
Take it. Yeah.
Take it.
Wow. Okay. Take it or leave it. If it wasn't a divisional game, there would be no discussions about Jordan Love starting.
I'm going to leave that. I think Jordan Love will. They didn't want to get him in the lineup. They just made him one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. So, yeah, I think there's a discussion there. By the way, can we go back to the Taylor Swift thing? Can you believe that people actually think that she is the one who's directing whether or not she gets on TV when she goes to a Chiefs game?
I get so tired of it because, Haley Steinfeld, she is dating Josh Allen. Haley Steinfeld.
Okay.
And she's a singer and actress, and I'm giving her a lot of credit in the world.
Props,
but I
yeah,
saw
really
I saw on social
really
media.
good singer.
Randy, Pitch Perfect 3, come on.
Oh.
I didn't even know that. You see, I'm learning something new about her.
Okay, good.
And I'm not trying to discredit her, but I saw that there was this tweet going viral where somebody said Haley Steinfeld was not on TV once, like with all this different kind of stuff with Josh Allen because she doesn't want to be in the limelight. I'm like, because she's not Taylor Swift. There's a difference.
Notice what happened when
She's not the most recognizable person on the planet.
Notice how Randy said, let's go back to that Taylor Swift thing after we tried to move away from it. And then when we brought up Haley Steinfeld, he went, who?
Yeah. People are just so dumb.
Damn.
That's what Charles Barkley would say. Why are people so dumb? All right, you got one more for us?
Take it or leave it. After you heard that, we're going to go back to yesterday's Take It or Leave It, and opening day will not sell out. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. I think opening day still sells out because it's a tradition unlike any other in St. Louis. But I worry about the game 2 and 3.
Yeah, I think it might be a difference. It's hard to beat that day because it's like a national holiday. But other than that, I think that you're going to have a lot of disappointed fans.
Yeah, I think so. And I hope the Cardinals can fix things. By the way, let's find next year's home opener here. Cardinals will open their 2025 home season on March 27th, a Thursday, against the Minnesota Twins.
Somebody said, every time you guys start talking about Taylor Swift, I start listening to The Point.
That's cool. That's fine.
And my response to that
I'm sure
is,
they don't talk about Taylor Swift.
I was going to say,
over
my
there.
response to that is, yeah, there's no risk that the Riz show starts talking about a famous artist.
Yeah.
Oof.
I would say
Really
that
rolling
the
the dice on
likelihood is
that one there,
high.
champ.
Yeah. So you don't want to hear about the most famous person on the planet on a sports show who's dating a player from the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions.
Also, we have to talk about her. 217 just texted in. Did you guys know that Taylor Swift is the offensive coordinator now? She's trying to keep Travis safe. That's why he doesn't have any catches.
Oh, there we
We
go.
have to talk about her now. She's running one of the best offenses in the league.
Honestly, we're not talking about it enough.
Thank you.
Clearly.
Great point.
Clearly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your texts. We do appreciate them. And thanks for coming over from the Riz Show. We appreciate that, too. Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, Ken Rosenthal has an interesting piece, but, man, Katie Wu has a damning piece about the Cardinals out at the Athletic. We'll touch on some of the other aspects of it next on 101 ESPN.
perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
Brooke Grimsley, Randy Carricker, and Danny Mack is out today. He's under the weather. Matthew Rocchio is here. It's 8:08. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke, another very, very intriguing to me aspect to Katie Woo's story. Let me read you this paragraph, okay?
Okay.
Chaim Bloom, who helped shape Tampa Bay's into a player development powerhouse before enduring a turbulent stint as general manager of the Boston Red Sox, joined the Cardinals earlier this year as a consultant to audit the club's minor league operations. Bloom has since joined the front office full-time. Bloom, will be charged with making changes in the Cardinal farm system based on his findings. Bloom's first and foremost pressing task, hiring a new director of player development. Chaim Bloom is, according to Katie Woo, the one that is going to hire a new director of player development for the Cardinals. I find the level of power that he has amassed, I'm not surprised by that, but the fact that it hasn't been announced and he is going to do that job, and it will be announced, I would presume, early next week, Monday or Tuesday, I find that quite notable.
So will he be the new Pobo?
That's what I'm wondering is, if he's going to hire that key person in the organization, seems to me that he's doing a task that a Pobo generally would.
But then Rosenthal has the piece, too, that we've been talking about this morning, where he says that John Mozeliak will be returning into the same role next year, being the Pobo.
The Blues have Doug Armstrong, the Poho, in place, and Alexander Steen is going to replace him. I wonder if the Cardinals are headed in that direction, where Bloom will essentially be a Pobo in waiting. Why else would you have him select that key element of your organization?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. And I want people to text into the text line, and also you can leave a mic drop on the 101 ESPN app. But okay, so now with this information that we have, and it looks like there will be an announcement next week, possibly on Monday, according to a lot of different reports, John Mozeliak is returning for another year in the same role as a Pobo, but we're going to start transitioning. They're going to introduce Chaim Bloom as the heir apparent officially, because I think we all know behind closed doors that was the plan, right?
Yes.
That he was going to eventually take things over. But we will still have John Mozeliak as the Pobo for next season. Oli Marmol will be coming back. Maybe there will be some other changes within the organization, obviously on the player development side. As a fan, are you buying back into it? Is that enough for you to want to come back and buy back into it?
No, not when you go to the top of the story and you see people that know the sport that are saying it's going to take a while to fix this.
Yes.
So
what do you think that they're seeing? Is it all the stuff that we're seeing, or is there also more that's under the surface?
It's a player development system that is bereft of the development part.
Well, kind of look at what we're talking about here.
Right.
We talked about this in the last segment. So the redundancy that you have on this roster, what are you going to do with Ivan Herrera next season? Will he be a first baseman? Because as I mentioned earlier, John Denham at MLB.com noted that Ivan Herrera was taking grounders at first base yesterday. Will he be your first baseman? What happens with Paul Goldschmidt? What happens with Nolan Gorman, who, by the way, is still down in the minors? What happens with him? What happens with some of these other young players? Jordan Walker, I think, is another big part of this conversation, because now it seems like maybe he won't be an outfielder next season. What happens to him? How many DHs are you going to have next season? This seems like a big mess to me, and it all points back to not getting the most out of your young players within your organization. Even going back to Ivan Herrera, we were talking about this during one of the breaks, Randy, but why did it take so long for them to identify some of his issues behind the plate?
That's a player development issue. And one of the things that Katie points out in her article is that the Cardinals have 5 full-time minor league instructors. 5. In comparison, other teams, the Phillies have 14 full-time field staff members. The Mets have 15, including coordinators for catching, base running, infield, and outfield. The Cardinals have none of those. The Brewers, winners of the National League Central 3 times in the past 4 seasons, have 17 staffers. Again, the Cardinals have 5. Well, maybe you just don't have enough eyes on these players like Herrera to understand their deficiencies. So you've got some people saying, oh, he's pretty good, but they really don't understand. They don't have enough eyes on him to determine that he is severely lacking in things that catchers need to be able to do, like throw base runners out.
And then going back to Jordan Walker, too, what happened on that side of evaluating Jordan Walker? Because remember, they didn't start having him work into the outfield until they traded Harrison Bader. And then he still really struggled to develop as an outfielder. We saw yesterday where he had some struggles there. And now there's a conversation about if he will even be in the outfield next season, which I know that that's something that a lot of people are looking at on social media. Is that going to be part of the plan for next year where he's not even going to be an outfielder anymore? So then he'll be in a different position, which I know that he's played in the infield in his career. But what happened in the evaluation process, the developing process there, too, with Jordan Walker?
And if you bring Paul Goldschmidt back, where is Jordan Walker going to play that's not the outfield? Right?
Yes.
So the essence of Katie's story, and we advise you, this is worth it just for this, to get the athletic subscription if you don't have the athletic subscription. But the essence of the story is that the Cardinal system is broken and is in dire need of help. And it's a system that used to be really good. Now it's really bad. And the Cardinals have to find a way to fix it. But it's going to be a process, not an event.
So here's a question that we keep seeing over and over again on the text line. And we'll be sure to get to your text throughout the show today because there's a lot to go over here. But from the 314, can someone tell me what Gersh does? How does he figure into all the changes? We keep getting questions about what happened to Gersh. What is his role now within the organization?
The front office has been extraordinarily quiet in the second half of this season. And Michael Gersh was hired as an analytics guru, and I believe that's still his main focus when the Cardinals decide to make a move. He's the one that crunches the key numbers for the Cardinals before they make a move. That would be my guess, but I don't know that he has an actual job description that we're all aware of. So there is your fresh take here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, Joey V is going to join us to talk some stuff here on 101 ESPN.
Whatever he wants to talk about.
Derek or Danny Mac is under the weather today, so he's not with us. We go to the celebrity line now, and our friend, the analyst for St. Louis Blues broadcast here on 101 ESPN, Joe Vitale, joins us. And Joey is an expert in many things beyond hockey. We always love to be educated by Joey V. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Hey, Randy, Brooke, I'm doing excellent. I'm doing so good. Wonderful weather here in St. Louis.
Oop, Joey V, we lost you there.
Right as you said wonderful weather here in St. Louis.
We're going to have to go and get a better and more connected line with Joey V.
Yeah. Oh, man. Hopefully everything is okay after he was...
Oh, yeah, he'll be fine.
He was saying that the weather was great, too.
Well, this is the result of what we're seeing now of Hurricane Helene, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is. Hopefully everybody, if you are listening from those areas, hopefully everybody is safe and doing okay. Hurricanes are scary.
Especially if you're in the area where, like Florida, things like that. Yeah, you don't want to be messing around with them. You don't want to be walking to work in a hurricane when everybody else is home, right? Some people just don't know what hurricanes are.
Yeah, I wonder, I bet Joey would have some good hurricane survival tips.
I bet you would. He's with us now. He has rejoined us, Joey V. Good morning. The last thing we heard was wonderful weather, and then it sounded like he got blown away like Jim Cantori.
The hurricane winds just took me. I feel like I was Captain Dan or Captain. Who was the captain on Forrest Gump?
Yeah,
Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan.
Remember, he was on top of the shipping boat, and he's like, "You call this a storm?" Oh, you know. Yeah, I felt like I was that just coming in from outside. Sorry, I lost you guys there, but I am okay, and so far I'm surviving.
Well, I don't know if you heard what we were talking about. Do you have any hurricane survival tips?
Ooh, run, get to the inland. I mean, get to the inland as quickly as possible. I've never been a part of a hurricane.
Really?
I'm fascinated by them. I really am. I mean, this weekend, I'm a Weather Channel junkie. I think a lot of people may relate to that. You know, I could sit and watch the Weather Channel, watch the way these storms, come together. One of my all-time favorite undercover movies was The Perfect Storm. You guys had to have seen that with Mark Wahlberg and George Clooney, a true story of 3 hurricanes colliding up on the East Coast. There's something just really fascinating about the way they start in Africa, and they kind of under that little hoop in Africa, they just kind of build over the Atlantic Ocean, and they eventually hit landfall here. And you hate to see the tragedies and the catastrophes that they are, but when you really look at it, I mean, my goodness gracious, it really puts in perspective how out of control we are. We think as humans we can control so much, but that Mother Nature, she's a bit of a Dickens at times, as we can see.
She is. She's a bit of a beast. And you're right. I think that when stuff like that is happening, one, I'm praying and hoping that everybody will be okay in that process, like you mentioned there. It's absolutely tragic to see. But at the same time, I am watching the Weather Channel. I am watching to see the reporters. Don't you think it's absolutely nuts? And I worked in local TV. I feel like I could say this, that they have reporters go outside and say, don't come out here. It's dangerous, while they're outside in that area, warning people not to do exactly what they're doing.
I mean, can we not just do that from a studio with like some sort of green backdrop? I mean, to your point, I mean, one of these days, these reports are just going to take off. I mean, they're just going to go poof out of nowhere. I think there's got to be a better way to handle this. If that not Brooke, I mean, I don't know what those people are making. I would imagine that their salary can jack up or increase a little bit when they put themselves in the danger that they do. But, again, it's part of the aesthetic, and it is certainly a really cool thing to see, especially on these beaches where, we go down to Destin quite a bit. We go down to Seaside and, these just peaceful beaches, and all of a sudden it just completely takes off. So, again, we're hoping everyone stays safe down there in Florida and across that coast area there. But it is something that, with the weather being what it is this weekend in St. Louis, we're going to be hunkered down, just probably making a bunch of bread and watching the Weather Channel all weekend.
Okay, guys, Hurricane Helene has caused residents in St. Petersburg, Florida, to be asked not to drain water, take showers, do laundry, or flush toilets because one of the city's sewer treatment plants has gone offline to protect it from an unprecedented storm surge. So no draining water, no taking showers, no laundry, no flushing toilets. If you aren't draining water, you aren't cleaning dishes. What do you do here in this situation, Joey V?
You just bake bread, Randy. I mean, it's not great. Just stock up on Costco flour, or if you're a Sam, whatever it is, just get a bunch of flour. You know, it sounds like water is not going to be a problem to get in, so you got plenty of water. And I would say just start passing your starter around and just make all kinds of bread. You can feed people for days with that. I mean, I know my mother-in-law is from Atlanta. She said the grocery store is about sold out down there, and people get all frantic in Atlanta. And one of the first things that goes is bread. It's like, you know what? Just make it yourself. That's what I would do.
It's a good idea.
It takes a lot of time, Joey. All of us are great at it.
Time is on their side right now. I mean, it's a great distraction. So I don't think they're going to work anytime soon.
That is very true. Okay, we'll talk some Blues hockey here because, of course, preseason play is going on right now. We had Jeremy Rutherford on yesterday, friend of the show, as you know, and friend of yours too. And he was talking about some of his bold predictions for the season. So I want a bold prediction for the Blues this season from you about a player, something that might happen, anything like that.
You know, bold. I don't know if this is bold. I mean, I was on the BK and Ferrario show yesterday, and I was telling them, you know, one thing I thought, and I think they were a little, not surprised, but maybe surprised that I said it this soon. But to me, Zachary Bolduc is going to land in that top six. You know, I don't know if he's going to be on the top line. I think that's left to be unseen. But Zachary Bolduc, to me, at the beginning, some people are still hypothesizing, is this kid going to make this team out of camp? I think he's already solidified himself on this team out of camp based off what he did last year, based off of what he's doing so far in camp. We talked to Tim Taylor, the assistant general manager, during the Columbus game between periods, and he said the same thing. He doubled down by saying, I think he's had an unbelievable camp. I think he's gotten stronger game, which is a really good indicator that he can handle the size and speed of the NHL. And we saw enough last year that he's gotten himself a lot of confidence to come into this year, put on more muscle, and he looks terrific. So, you know, I know that you're looking at Thomas and Kyrou as a pair on one line, and you're looking at, you know, Buchnevich and Shen as another. You know, where does Neighbors fit? Does he fit, you know, on that Buchnevich-Shen grouping, or does he fit on the Thomas Kyrou? But then to me, the other winger is open up. You know, is you know, could be certainly Holloway. I think that you can move Matthew Joseph up and down a little bit. But so to me, I guess my bold one, whether I don't think it's that bold, but apparently from some of the reactions of people I've said this to, they're a little surprised by it. So maybe it is bold. But I think that the bold of Bolduc will be on the top six come this season.
Joey, the Blackhawks are in town tomorrow. They have not made the playoffs in the last 4 years. They haven't won a playoff series since they won their last Stanley Cup in 2015. They've got 9 consecutive years without winning a playoff series. They have torn down, and they're trying to rebuild that way. I look at the Blues, and I feel like you that they're going to be a competitive team for a playoff spot this year. I have a greater deal of admiration for Doug Armstrong and his ability to build competitive franchises now than I think I ever have.
I would agree with you, Randy. I mean, you look at last season, you know, what the team that they had heading into last season, I think they had every right to be done out of the playoff spot by Christmas. I mean, that's how, you know, they were put together. I think that you lose the O'Reillys and the Perrons. Certainly you're still feeling the wounds of losing the Petros and the Bows and all those types of players. Tarasenko, of course, got shipped off as well. Ivan Barbashev was such a utility guy for us. I mean, you lost a lot of big-time players. I think a lot of organizations, they would head into what Chicago is now currently in, or maybe even the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, a long rebuild, similar to what the Detroit Red Wings are still kind of in the midst of doing. And, you know, for this team to now all of a sudden be not only back in relevance where they can, you know, come close to pushing for that playoff spot like they did last year. Remember, they came really close. They were only 3 games out. They can close that gap this year now with the team they have. It was even cooler about it, you know, Randy, when if you want to compare the Blackhawks and the Blues, just for example, I think both teams are going to be pushing for a playoff spot this year. I think that St. Louis has definitely got a little bit of an edge on Chicago. But what's really interesting about when you compare those two, Chicago, I don't know if they necessarily got a lot younger. I think they added veterans. I mean, you look at Nick Foligno, who's now the captain. You add a Pat Maroon. You add a Bertuzzi. Yes, they did add pieces to make them better, but also they didn't necessarily add younger core pieces for the future. So that's what's exciting about the Blues is they got better as well, but they got better with younger talent that is probably not even really hit their prime yet. I think Pat Maroon's prime's over. Tyler Bertuzzi's, kind of in it, but pretty soon he's going to be out of it. But look at a Broberg, look at a Holloway. I mean, these guys haven't played over 100 games in the National Hockey League yet. I mean, they're first-round draft picks. I mean, we have more first-round draft picks than any team on roster right now. So it goes to show you that not only are we going to stay competitive and push for a playoff spot this year, but the future is very bright here in St. Louis, and you really got to tip your hat to Doug Armstrong, Alexander Steen, Tim Taylor. The whole game has just done a wonderful job, not only making this a competitive group and a fun hockey team to watch this year, but it's just going to keep getting better year after year now.
All right, Joey, we got to get back to baking for 1 second, because you've explained to us the patience necessary to make sourdough bread. You have to be really not only patient, but you have to have great detail when you make it. What's the most challenging item for you to bake? Is it sourdough, or is it something else that it just requires so much of you to make it great?
Brandy, I think the Mount Everest for me right now, I think most people would say from a bread standpoint, sourdough bread is that Mount Everest. Mm-hmm. I mean, it plagues people. It drives them nuts because the yeast is so intolerant because it's alive. You were talking about live bacteria that is very intolerant to certain dimensions, humidity, temperature. I tell people all the time, sourdough bread, you have to think of time and temperature as ingredients. I mean, temperature is so important. A dough that comes out at 79 degrees and then a dough that comes out at 74 degrees, it's not too much of a difference in temperature, but that 79-degree dough will absolutely be done probably fermenting, let's say, in 4 hours, and the 73 one may take 6 or 7 hours. Wow. And, it's just that amazing about how much temperature does affect things. And then I tell people, too, well, it is alive. And think about you. When your house is 70 degrees, you like it. What happens if the thermostat breaks and all of a sudden in the summer it's 74, 75, and all of a sudden you start to sweat? It has an impact on you. So, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a lot. And that's what kind of plagues people about sourdough bread is getting the temperature right. But now that I've kind of really gotten my gears going on that, I'm really starting to, understand it. And I'm not a professional, I'm not a perfectionist by any means, but I feel like I've covered that. It's the croissants. Like the sourdough croissants to me are that next layer. And people who have a good croissant, you just marvel in it. You just can't help but just fall in love with it. When people go to France, the first thing they say is, "Oh my God, the pastries and the croissants are so good." And you're thinking about it because it's dough and butter and you're folding all these layers and you're rolling it out, but then the consistency of the butter and dough has to be so perfect, and the fermentation's got to be even better, and then the cold proofing, and there's just layers and layers and layers. But when you have a good croissant and it like shatters, like at Nathaniel Reeves, for example, mm-hmm. You got something wonderful. The Starbucks stuff, to me, it's too muffiny, it's too fluffy, it's too clean. Like a croissant should absolutely just completely bust. You should eat a croissant. What were those like those lobster, those things you put around your neck for lobster? Like that's what you need. Yeah. A little
a bib.
It's like a little bib. It's like an adult bib. When you eat a croissant, you should have to eat it with a bib. I mean, you watch people eat a croissant in France. These guys, I mean, it's a disaster. Like it's making a mess everywhere. It's shattering because that's what that butter and the moisture in the butter when it bakes, it just completely creates those layers. So I know that was a very long answer to your question, but it's something that keeps me up at night, Randy. I got to figure out a way to get these croissants nailed out.
It is great to know. You always provide us great information, Joey V. You're the best.
I'm going to take care of you guys. When I do nail it, I'm going to bring you some.
All right. Can't wait. And I think I might owe you a carrot. It's been a while since you got a carrot cake, hasn't it been?
It's been a while since I made some bread for you guys. So we got a little bread exchange and carrot cake exchange. Well, what's Brooke going to bring to the table? Brooke, we got to get like some sort of three-way food exchange coming here.
Food exchange. There we go.
Okay. I'm trying to think about what I could bring to the table.
Baking specialty.
So something baking-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no ramen noodles from the package.
Right.
No, I was going to say, like, meal-wise, I like to make traditional Japanese food, so I could bring, like, sukiyaki. Like, if we needed some meat dish, so sukiyaki is like a beef dish, a Japanese traditional beef dish. You'd bring that to the table so that you have something savory.
Well, how about dumplings? Can you do dumplings like those Chinese? Oh, man.
Japanese is gyozas.
That's what it is. There's a place in St. Louis. I think it's called St. Louis Dumplings. Oh, my God.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
it's off Oliver Page, like on I-70, just a little bit east of I-70 there. Oh, my God, this place is like in a shopping center. There's one guy manning the whole thing for the most part. You go in, it's always a wait, but there's dumplings that'll just completely blow you away.
Is it the soup dumplings?
It's the soup dumplings. Yeah, apparently you're supposed to, like, pick it up. You would know this, Brooke, but then you bite a corner of the dumpling,
Yes.
and then you're like tip it, and then you're supposed to like drink the broth from the inside.
Exactly. You can put some vinegar in there too. It's delicious.
Yeah, you put it's like a whole process. Me, I'm just like,
That's how you burn your tongue.
Eat these things. I go, you're too good. I can't even look at you. Just give me you.
It's a beautiful, slow process. You're not supposed to just chow it down.
I know. And you know what? All these like Asian people are there, and they're all like doing it so delicately and like according to tradition. I'm just like a garbage disposal. I can't get enough of them. They're probably like, get this guy out of here.
Yes, we'll work on that, Joey.
That's Joey V. We got a text during that segment said need more bread content. So we're working on that. Joey, it's always great to have you with us. Thank you, sir. Have a great weekend.
You guys have a great weekend as well. Enjoy this beautiful weather.
Thank you very much. You too. Yeah, lovely. Joe Vitale on 101 ESPN.
You never know what he's going to talk about.
And I know that people, they expect to hear Joey talking hockey because he is our Blues analyst. Here's the thing. Joey brings so much value outside of hockey because he's brilliant and knows so much about so much. I'm entertained. And I hope that you're entertained by the fact that when he comes on with us on Fridays, it's a little bit different.
Have they listened to the Blues broadcast with him and Curbs? They talk hockey, but they also talk about a lot of different stuff.
It's the Curbs and Joey show.
Exactly.
There's no doubt about it.
That's what I like about them. They make it fun and entertaining.
Coming up, we've got the fight. I guess we need a fighter, huh, Matthew? Okay, so we'll take a fighter. 314-399-9646. 314-399-YO-HO. Text into that number with your name and the word fight, and maybe Matthew will pick you to fight me next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocc here with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals last night couldn't complete their sweep of the Rockies as they fall 10-8. They will start their final series of the season against the Giants tonight. 9:15 first pitch. It'll be Miles Michaelis facing off against Landon Raup for the Giants. NFL Week 4 kicks off on Thursday night with the Cowboys taking down the Giants 20-15. Speaking of the NFL, you can catch an NFL tripleheader right here on 101 ESPN this weekend on Sunday starting at 11 a.m. Also on 101 ESPN this weekend, tomorrow night, it's the Blues and the Blackhawks. Starts at 5 p.m. right here on 101 ESPN. Your home for the St. Louis Blues. And the other St. Louis team in action this weekend, and it's a rivalry match for St. Louis City SC as they host Sporting Kansas City at 7:30 for another round of the Derby Q. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke, Randy, and Rocco here. Danny Mac with the day off. Hopefully he'll be feeling better next week. It is time for the fight now, and our fighter today is Jason. Jason, how are you doing this morning?
Doing great. Good morning.
Good morning. Is this your first time facing Randy in the fight?
It is, and I'm a little bummed out because my daughter listens with me every morning, and I just dropped her off at school.
Oh, man. Sorry. Yeah, we got this. As you were probably listening, it kind of took us a minute. We were getting into sourdough talk with Joey. So hopefully, though, she can go back and listen on the podcast.
Yep. Hey, by the way, Crackle Barrel has some great sourdough bread.
Oh, I don't think I've ever gotten their sourdough bread there. I love the biscuits for sure.
Pretty good.
Okay. You ready for question number 1, Jason?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The Green Monster isn't the only Fenway edifice with a distinctive name. Which former player/manager is the right field foul pole named after? Is it Michael Pesky, Danny Pesky, or Johnny Pesky?
I know it's a pesky pole. One more time.
Your options are Michael Pesky, Danny Pesky, or Johnny Pesky.
Let's go with Johnny.
All right, Steve Kerr. Happy birthday to Steve Kerr, by the way. He has won NBA titles in different roles with 3 different franchises. The Bulls, Warriors, and who else? Is it the Rockets, the Heat, or the Spurs?
Yeah, I just listened to this question not too long ago, actually. Let's go Spurs, finally.
You said Spurs is your final answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 3, Jason. There are only 2 wide receivers to win the Triple Crown for their position, leading the league in receptions, yards, and touchdowns since 2000. Cooper Kupp in 2021, and which player 16 years earlier? Is it Torrey Holt, Larry Fitzgerald, or Steve Smith Sr.?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Larry Fitzgerald, final answer.
Who was the youngest player in Major League Baseball history to reach both the 500 and 600 home run marks, hitting his 600th home run exactly 3 years after his 500th? Was that Babe Ruth, Ken Griffey Jr., or Alex Rodriguez?
A-Rod, final answer.
All right, we'll double check our score. We'll bring in Randy Carricker.
How are you feeling, Jason?
Man, I listen every morning for probably since the segment has started, and they say it is a lot harder when you're on the air.
It is. It's just a lot more intimidating. The pressure is there, but I feel like you did a pretty good job, Jason. Not to give away any clues, but I feel like you did a pretty good job.
Thank you very much.
All right, here is Randy right now. I didn't get to see if you have the grapes or not.
I had grapes, yeah, but they're gone now.
The Mountain Dew?
Destroyed them. Don't have Mountain Dew today, sorry.
Sudafed?
Sudafed, yes. We're good there. Yeah. And Propel.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. I knew that you had to have something. Randy, say hi to Jason.
Jason, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing good. We've actually met a couple times, so I'll give a sick plug here. Premier Window Tinting.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I had that done with my my Honda Pilot, and I'm very happy with Premier Window Tinting. If you ever need windows tinted on your car, get in touch with them. They're great.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
All right. You ready for question number 1?
Ready.
The Green Monster isn't the only Fenway edifice with a distinctive name. Which former player slash manager is the right field pole named after?
I would guess Johnny Pesky, the Pesky pole.
Randy, Steve Kerr has won NBA titles in different roles with 3 different franchises. The Bulls, the Warriors, and who else?
Spurs. San Antonio Spurs. And he should have won as the general manager of the Phoenix Suns.
Maybe don't trade for Shaq when you're trying to run a quick-paced offense?
Yeah, smart.
Maybe?
That was not his best move.
Lean into your strengths.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Spurs, though.
Okay, ready for question 3?
I am.
There are only 2 wide receivers to win the Triple Crown for their position, leading the league in receptions, yards, and touchdowns since 2000. Cooper Kupp did it in 2021, and which player 16 years earlier?
Let's see. The logical choice here is Megatron. This would have been 2004. Kupp in 2020, you said?
2021.
2021, so 2005. I am going to go catches, yards. I think I will go, not remembering actually when he played, but I think he retired in like 09. I'm going to go with Calvin Johnson, Megatron. Wasn't one of our guys. Wasn't Torrey. I'll go with Megatron, final answer.
All right, Randy. Who was the youngest player in Major League Baseball history to reach both the 500 and 600 home run marks, hitting his 600th home run exactly 3 years to the day after his 500th?
That would be like 33 home runs a year on average between 500 and 600.
He's got a good 34th one in there.
This is like a total coin flip for me, but because my first guy was injured a lot, I'm going to go with my second guy, which I probably shouldn't. 500 to 600. Okay, now I've got another name in the mix. So, because of that, I'm going to use the lifeline here.
Is it Babe Ruth, Ken Griffey Jr., or Alex Rodriguez?
All right. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to go with A-Rod.
And that means, I'm sorry, Jay Delsing, we have to go to a tiebreaker. We are not up, so we got to get to a tiebreaker. We got to do this one quick, fast, and in a hurry. So I'm going to read, Jason, here's the thing. I'm going to read out the question. We're going to get Randy Carricker's answer on a piece of paper. Then we're going to get your answer audibly. Randy Carricker will confirm his answer, and then whichever one of you is closest to the pin is walking away as the winner of today's fight. Do you understand those rules, Jason?
Yes, sir.
All right, Randy, do you understand those rules as well?
Yes, sir.
Do you have paper?
I do. I have Lindenwood paper.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
I have 2 tiebreakers. I pick which one's less likely to have a second one. All right, let's go with this one. Okay. The Green Bay Packers have played in the NFL since 1921, and in that time have played over 1,400 games. And since then, they have won the most regular season games in NFL history. Out of over 1,400 games played, how many games have the Green Bay Packers won in over 100 years of professional football? They've played 1,400 games in the last 100 years of professional football. Since 1921, in those 1,400 games, how many have they won? This is regular season. Randy Carricker has given us an answer. Jason, what is your answer, sir?
Let's stay around 500 here, so I'm going to go 787.
787 is the guess for Jason. Randy Carricker, what was your guess?
My guess was 777.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
787 versus 777. So there's one way this goes. More than 787 is a less than 777, or somehow is it in the middle of these two numbers that are only 10 apart despite the wide delta I gave you guys. Here we go. Who is the winner of today's fight? Ring that bell.
The winner and new champion of the fight, Average Joe Listener.
The fight is presented by Golf Discount of St. Louis, with the most experienced club fitters in town. Why shop anywhere else?
Unbelievable job, Jason. The Packers, in just over 1,400 games, have won exactly 800 regular season games. You were only 13 off. Randy was 23 off. An incredible job in the fight and in the tiebreaker today, Jason, as you tied 3-3 in the first place. Congratulations on the win. We'll be talking to you on Monday.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Hopefully Danny will be back.
There we go.
Great to have you with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Jason. And we'll go over the fight questions a little bit later because we got to get to Jay.
All right. Jay Delsing next time, 101 ESPN. you. Danny Mackey is under the weather, so he's not with us today. We head to the celebrity line, and Jay Delsing is standing by. Jay, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. I'm down at Family Golf and Learning Center watching Avery McLaughlin hit just bombs out there with her driver. Everything is great.
That's pretty awesome. Except Avery McLaughlin would outdrive me and Brooke and Matthew, probably combined.
Yeah.
Guys, we were playing the first hole at Norwood, and we just made an adjustment to her driver, and we added a degree and a half of loft, and she hit her first 2 drives 312 yards and 310 yards.
Holy cow.
I know.
That's awesome.
She's a stud. Yeah.
We've got the President's Cup going on, and Tom Kim trash-talked his close friend Scotty Scheffler, and Scheffler turned it around and won the next 3 holes and won the match. And Scotty said afterwards he poked the bear.
Oh, it was, first of all, it was in such poor golf etiquette and golf class. When you don't stick around and at least have the courtesy to watch your competitors finish their hole, it's awful. It's one of those pet peeves. It's like, when a base runner makes an out in baseball, there's a certain way he can run around the pitcher's mound, and he definitely can't run across the pitcher's mound. That's the equivalent to that, guys, in golf. And I've got Randy Smith on the show this week, and Randy Smith has been Scotty Scheffler's teacher since he was 6. And he talks about how Scotty was getting into a trash talk incident on the putting green with a 13-year-old down in Fort Worth when he was practicing about 2 months ago. So Scotty is one of these guys that he is uber competitive, like a Tiger Woods, but doesn't show it as much. But when it comes to trash talking, Scotty's got a strong game.
I wanted to ask you about Max Homa. I'm sure you saw the news that he is actually splitting with his longtime coach. What did you make of that news? Because we saw that he did well in the Masters earlier in April, but he has really struggled this PGA Tour season.
You know what, Brooke? Sometimes you need a different voice. I'm sure there's nothing that's been drastic. It's just sometimes the message gets stale, and sometimes you just need a different voice. And oftentimes, like what Ricky Fowler did with Butch Harmon, is there's a reunion down the road. So Max Homa is a really great guy, and I'm sure he did it with a lot of class. And he's one of those guys that I really, really root for. I'd love to see him get back into form and start playing better. But I don't think it's a really huge deal. It happens all the time, actually.
Hey, Jay, how do you change your game, if at all, when the temperature goes from 90, 95 to 75 and your ball is reacting differently? Do you play any differently? Do you have to change anything?
You do, Randy. You definitely have to take more clubs. So when I was playing in the Pro-Am at the Ascension Charity Classic, I build in an extra 5 to 10 yards for my amateurs. So if they have a 180-yard shot, I tell them it's a 190-yard shot. Because universally, I played in probably, I don't know, somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 Pro-Ams in my life. And universally, AMs just don't take enough club. And we'll go the entire day without having one person in the foursome hit an approach shot past the flagstick. It's crazy, you guys. It just happens. And so what happens, I think, is that when you give someone a yardage, you say, oh, okay, you've got 150 yards. They have this one moment where they remember, I hit my 8-iron 150 yards. And it was like that grand slam, that moment, where everything just went right. But they typically hit it about 135 or 40. And so it's one of those things where giving them extra yard definitely can pay off. And in this cooler weather, to your point, Randy, the ball doesn't perform under 80 degrees like it does when it's over 80 degrees. And so take an extra club, at least a half a club when it's still in the 70s. But when it dips down, and today, like it's middle 60s with a 15-mile-an-hour wind, you definitely need at least a full club.
And let's wrap up by talking about the President's Cup. We started talking about Scheffler and Kim. It looks like the USA should dominate this weekend. You never know if that's going to be the case, but they sure are off to a great start.
Yeah, no, they really are. It's really difficult for Mike Weir's a great guy. And I don't know what you guys think, but I've always thought of Canada as like our brothers. So when the U.S. would play Canada in hockey, it seems like it's like a family fight or something like that. The Canadians are great golf fans, and they're all fired up, and we just absolutely waxed them 5-0 yesterday. So I'm hoping just for golf's sake that it's a little more competitive, but I still want the red, white, and blue to win. And it'd be really fun. I don't know if you saw Mackenzie Hughes chug a beer on the first hole, but that didn't help either. So they're going to pull out all the stops today, I think.
All right, Jay, good to hear your voice. We'll let you get back to it at Family Golf. And if you want to get some great instruction, that's a great place to go, isn't it?
Yep.
Oh, it is. Adam Betts does a great job down here. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and there's always high school teams down here, and there's kids running around. The family part of Family Golf is evident here every day.
All right, thank you, Jay. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, guys, have a great weekend.
Jay Delsing on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we've got the Rush Hour Reset.
stories of the day on the opening drive with a Rush Hour Reset.
Brought to you by James Carlton State Farm. Are your car and home insurance rates competitive?
Find out at carltoninsurance.net.
It is 9:05 in St. Louis. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Cardinals back in action tonight as they open their final series of the season at San Francisco. Cardinals will send Miles Michaelis to the mound against Landon Roop of the Giants. He's a 6'2", 205-pounder, and the Cardinals need one win to assure themselves a winning season. That would be 82 victories. Yes.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
pretty
Very,
exciting.
very delayed reaction there from everybody.
And the Cardinals did fall yesterday in Denver to the Rockies 10-8, and they take one game or two games in the three-game series. An interesting, notable, and I'm sure very much discussed piece by Katie Wu in The Athletic this morning about the Cardinals and the future. And the biggest piece of news coming out of that is that she reports that Chaim Bloom will choose the Cardinals' next director of player development, which seems like a task generally afforded team's president of baseball operations.
Yeah, that really does sound like that. But then you couple that with Rosenthal's article as well, where he says that John Mozeliak will be returning in the same role and position for next season. So this is, as you said earlier, Randy, this is kind of like what the Blues did, where they already are kind of showcasing Steen. He's starting to do things more out in the forefront. They acknowledge that he will be the heir apparent for next season, but it sounds like it will be, that's like the same situation that you have here going on with the Cardinals, except
they've made Bloom now a full-time employee.
Exactly.
You don't hire Chaim Bloom to be a full-time employee unless he's going to oversee your baseball ops, right?
Yes.
Because is he going to take a job where he's second fiddle? I don't think so, especially if he doesn't know who his boss is going to be, right? Because they aren't announcing a new Randy Flores or Rodriguez or anybody like that as the Gersh, as the Pobo. I would just, let's connect the dots here, right? If you're Chaim Bloom, you aren't taking the job unless you're the Pobo, especially if you don't know who the boss is going to be. And if you're the Cardinals, what would the point be of hiring somebody full-time if you're not going to make them the Pobo?
Exactly. I'm just struggling to see what exactly changes, though. I know that we have Chaim Bloom who will be taking over things here eventually, but what changes for next season? You're going to maybe change the coaching staff, or we're going to add stuff to the player development side. Obviously, Gary LaRocque with his retiring, and you just mentioned there that there will be a new person in charge, but what else changes within the organization? Because also in this piece that Katie Wu wrote, this is just sticking with me. Randy, you read this earlier, but I cannot get past this. This is from a unnamed team employee where they said, we're in trouble. This is not easily fixable within the next year or the year after. This is going to take some time.
I believe, because I've seen it happen before, that if you hire good baseball people, it can happen in a hurry. And I go back to 1980 when Whitey Herzog took over a poor fundamental baseball team, made minor changes. He moved Ken Obergfell to third. He put Tommy Herr at second base. They wound up getting Darryl Porter. And fundamentally, they improved dramatically very quickly. Now, this team needs to change its approach offensively. And I believe that with the talent level on hand among the position players, that is something that can change quickly. Now, in terms of development, the Cardinals really have to beef up their development system. Also noted in the article, the Cardinals only have 5 full-time minor league instructors. Other franchises have 14 or 15 full-time minor league instructors. That is
shocking.
It's stunning for a team that Branch Rickey started the minor leagues with. But the Cardinals have said, hey, John Mozeliak has said that they were happy about the contraction of the minor leagues. It used to be the Cardinals' big advantage was they had more minor league players and more coaches than anybody else and could develop more players. They were happy when the number of minor league teams was reduced to a maximum of 4 and you didn't have as many players. And then they took away coaches, so you don't have as many coaches too.
You know, I say it's shocking whenever you hear that, the numbers-wise. It is shocking, but at the same time, it's not shocking when you see the current results right now at the major league level, because look at Jordan Walker. We were having a discussion throughout the show today. Jordan Walker, will he be an outfielder next season? there seems to be a lot of indication that maybe he won't be an outfielder, because Katie Wu tweeted this out last night, and I thought it was very notable that she would put this out there saying that Jordan Walker does not need to be an outfielder next season, that can't happen for next year. I don't think that she would put something out like that unless she had some indication that maybe that wasn't the case. And she probably was also putting personal thoughts and perspective out there too. But still at the same time, so you have Jordan Walker, where that hasn't panned out of him being an outfielder. Maybe you have him as an infielder. Of course, he has that history at third base. Maybe he's going to be your first baseman. But then Nolan Gorman, where is he right now? He's still in the minors. There's a lot of young players that have not ascended to the expectations or even met close to the expectations of what you were hoping to see from them. And it goes back to player development. And that's why it's so shocking when you talk about what they don't have in the minor leagues to help these players. Where's the catching instructor, too, for Ivan Herrera, for Pedro Pages?
You've got 5 of your top 30 prospects right now are catchers, and you don't have a minor league catching instructor.
Maybe that's why it took so long to realize that Ivan Herrera, as they noted many times, had those issues behind the plate.
Mm-hmm.
He does plenty at the plate. I think another outside, just my opinion, I think he needs to be an everyday player. I think that he provides a lot to this team offensively. The question is, where do you put him?
Yeah. And here's another problem in terms of foresight, which I questioned in 2022. So the Cardinals had Nolan Arenado, and he could have opted out after the 2022 season. They had Nolan Gorman, a minor league third baseman, a first-round draft choice. And they had Jordan Walker. If Nolan Arenado had opted out, Nolan Gorman was going to be the third baseman. Jordan Walker was never going to play third base in the major leagues. Yet, 2 years ago, he never played the outfield until the Cardinals traded Harrison Bader, as you mentioned earlier. He had never played a game professionally in the outfield until the Cardinals traded Harrison Bader. Why didn't he play that entire year in the outfield? Subsequently, the Cardinals, and I believe it was Gary LaRocque that said, well, we didn't want him thinking about his defense while he was at the plate. Well, you know what? If he was never going, first of all, you don't have to think an awful lot in the outfield. And he was never going to play third. I think the Cardinals did themselves a major disservice by not moving Jordan Walker to the outfield before that season. And I said that on the air.
Yes.
And it didn't happen.
Yeah. Well, because it's moves that are reactive rather than proactive.
Totally. Yep.
And that's what we keep seeing over and over again, is these reactive moves rather being proactive. Look at the Brewers and how they're able to win the division. How in the world did they do that? Because they stayed with their plan. Yes, there was plenty of things that would make them deviate for it, but instead they were proactive rather than just being absolutely reactive to every single thing. You have to have that ability to stick to the plan, but also work ahead of the plan too. And it feels like that's what's missing here, is that they say that there's a plan in place now for next season. We'll have those answers likely on Monday. I still don't understand what the plan is, Randy. I'm still trying to understand what changes for next season.
Hopefully we'll learn something on Monday. That's our Rush Hour Reset. Coming up, Mike Greenberg of ESPN, of Greeny and the Greeny Show, has a new book out, and he's going to join us to talk about that and more next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you why I love the Missouri Athletic Club. It's because it really feels like I've joined a community. I love going down to the downtown location. They always have such great events over there, like when I went over to the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame for Randy Carricker getting inducted. It was such a wonderful evening over there, and I also love going over to the West location just to socialize, too. I go over there to play tennis with Scott, work out over at their location, too, and just grab lunch. All the employees are always so kind, and they always provide such a wonderful experience. And that's why I love my MAC.
Welcome back to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis with Brooke Grimsley. I'm Randy Carricker, and it's a pleasure to go to the celebrity line and welcome Mike Greenberg. You, of course, know him from Get Up. You know him from NBA Countdown, now NFL Countdown, and he's got a new book out, too. He's staying busy. The name of the book, Got Your Answers, the 100 Greatest Sports Arguments Settled. Greeny, it's great to have you with us. How you doing?
Well, it's a pleasure to be back. Thanks so much for having me. I'm doing great.
And I can tell because when I leave my job here, I listen to the Greeny Show, and obviously we have ESPN up in the studio when we do this show. This had to be, this book, a labor of love for you and Hembo.
It really was so much fun. So the quick background on this one, Randy, is that about a year and a half ago, we did our first book together, and Hembo's research, you know, I pick on him a lot because he's a Vulcan, but the reality is his research is exceptional. He is as good at that job as anyone I know is at anything. And so we did a book called Got Your Number, which was really primarily a sports history book. And what we found in the reaction to it, and the book was very well received, but was that what people really gravitated to more than the history was the debate. The debating whether or not we had chosen the right people for the right numbers. And so we picked up on that and we said, okay, well, how about it for our follow-up? We choose the 100 biggest arguments, the 100 greatest debates in sports, and we settle them once and for all using research. And so that's exactly what we did. So I can just open to any page in the book and we will find one of the debates. So right here, what are the top 10 games in NFL history? I just randomly opened to that page, and we list the 10 greatest games in NFL history. We choose them, rank them 1 through 10, and then I write a little chapter about why we chose the games in this case that we did. Some of them are teams, some of them are players, et cetera, et cetera. And so if you are a sports fan, if you are someone who likes sports debate, if you know someone who likes sports debate, this will enable you to win 100 sports arguments anytime you want to, and Hembo includes 100 sneaky Hembo trivia questions. So that's the package, and it was really so much fun to put together. And it's been out in the world now for 2 days, and it's been a delight to see the way people are reacting to it.
Was it difficult when you put together the list of greatest slap shots of all time? I would think you start with Al McInnes, right? And then everybody else is kind of like Secretariat in the Belmont with Al McInnes, right? And then after that, you go, right? Because Chopper, he won 7 hardest shot competitions in the All-Star competition for the NHL.
Yes, we don't have a table of contents, so I'm finding it. Yes. So here's the thing about Al McInnes. If we were to judge, let me read you the chapter.
Okay.
If one were to judge purely based on numbers, McInnes would easily deserve the crown. After all, he won the NHL's hardest shot competition 7 times, the most in history. McInnes had a shot so hard that he once delayed the start of the game by putting a puck through the boards behind the net in warm-ups. However, Al McInnes didn't change the game. Bobby Hull did. While none of Hull's slap shots were ever measured, legend holds that at least once he reached 118 miles an hour. This in a time when the game was played with wooden sticks before the advent of composite graphite sticks that made everyone's shots harder. Hull's shot was so hard that he caused the league to legislate the curvature of the stick. Starting in 1965, Hull began experimenting with larger curvatures of the blade, leading goalies to complain across the league that it was created an unfair advantage. Toward the end of the decade, the NHL would limit the curvature to 3/4 of an inch, and then in 1970 to no greater than 1/2 inch. So on our list, we believe that because Bobby Hull changed the game, literally instigated a rule because his shot was too hard, we put him at number 1 and McGinnis at number 2.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I love all the research that you have on this, Greeny, and there's so many different things that stick out with this. I think one that I definitely noticed right off the top, because our show, we love nicknames, and this one really stood out to me. You have the top 20 team nicknames. Which one is your number 1?
So, yeah, let me turn to once again, the one mistake that we made here was not having a table of content, so I have to find that. So this was one where, once again, when it's your book, you can cheat. So most of the lists are either top 10 or top 5. The options here were so extraordinarily good that we just decided to make this a top 20. And here it is. I just found it. So among the list, have you seen it? Do you already know what the answer is?
I just see a list of a couple, but I'm not sure which one is the top.
Okay, excellent. So I will let you choose what you think should be number 1. So everyone understands. These are not necessarily the names of teams, or in some cases they are, but the Splash Brothers applies. Mm-hmm. The Orange Crush applies. Fearsome Foursome, Doomsday Defense, Big Red Machine, Monsters of the Midway, Phi Slamma Jamma, Fab Five. What would you have chosen as number 1? And those are just a few of the options.
The first one that came to my mind is the Steel Curtain, and that is one that just stands out in my brain.
So we voted the Steel Curtain number 4. We put it number 1. An expression that has become part of the lexicon. It is part of the English language. It is something that you probably say all the time and use it in any number of contexts in and outside of sports, and don't even really know where it came from. The expression Murderer's Row was actually written. It was derived from the name applied to a section of a Tombs prison in New York City, and was applied to the 1927 New York Yankees, the most legendary baseball team of all time, a team that featured 6 players who would make the Hall of Fame, plus the manager, plus the team president. Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs that season. Lou Gehrig hit 47. 2 Yankees were tied with 30 apiece. They had the top 4 home run hitters in baseball. Gehrig led the way with 175 RBIs. Ruth had 164. The term Murderer's Row, which is now used in any number of contexts in just daily parlance, was invented, at least was applied to sports and applied to that team by a newspaper columnist, and I think is now commonly known. So we put Murderer's Row at number 1, followed by Phi Slamma Jamma, just because I thought that was the coolest freaking nickname ever.
And I would have gone with that, too. That would have been my number 1, Greeny, so that's perfect.
We contemplated it for number 1. Then Fab Five was 3. Steel Curtain was 4. Big Red Machine was 5. And again, we list them all the way from 1 down to 20.
That's the voice of Mike Greenberg from ESPN. The name of the book is Got Your Answers, the 100 Greatest Sports Arguments Settled. And, of course, you can get that wherever books are sold right now. Greeny, we had this argument, not an argument, but a debate yesterday on our show. With Belichick retired now, Andy Reid is clearly the best coach in the NFL. But who follows Andy Reid? When you've got Kyle Shanahan, been to a couple of Super Bowls, you've got John Harbaugh, you've got Mike Tomlin, who's never had a losing season. Oh, we threw Matt LaFleur in there. If you were going to pick the guy behind Andy Reid, I'm putting you on the spot here, who do you think is the best guy behind him right now in the NFL?
So there are 2 different ways to answer that question. One of them is, which is the next most accomplished coach in the NFL? And the other way would be to answer, if I owned a team and I could have anyone to coach it, who would I hire? Which of those are you asking?
I would say the way I couched it is, if you were going to have a franchise and you were going to hire the coach today, because with all Tomlin's done, having won the Super Bowl that he did, and with all the winning and all the playoffs that he's gone to, it's got to be Tomlin or Harbaugh for most accomplished. So I would go with who you would hire for your team.
I would hire Jim Harbaugh.
I had him on my list.
Harbaugh, yeah, I think he's the most he makes as much of a difference as any coach in the NFL in recent memory. You just watch what he's going to do with the Chargers. I know they lost to Pittsburgh this week. They are a mash unit. I mean, the Chargers are so unimaginably banged up, and they finished that game without their quarterback. They're also a team that had to gut their roster for financial reasons leading into this season. You give Jim another year, and I believe they will make the playoffs this year, and I believe they will absolutely be in Super Bowl contention for the next 4 or 5 years after this one with Jim coaching, and I will not be at all surprised if he wins 1 or 2 of them. I think he is as consequential a coach as there is in the sport today, and I think Kevin O'Connell right now is doing an unbelievable job. He's the coach of the year at this moment. I think Matt LaFleur is doing a ridiculously good job, and there are several others. But if you told me I could hire any one coach to coach my team right now, I would hire Jim Harbaugh.
I might ask you here to do another list outside of what might be in your book, just because Shohei Ohtani is, of course, not done with his career yet, but already, I call him a unicorn, Greeny, because we've never seen anybody like him before. And we've had this discussion as well. Where would you rank Shohei Ohtani? Even though he's not done yet with his career, where would you rank him amongst the greatest baseball players of all time?
So, see, that's really complicated because he just hasn't played long enough, and so in the United States. So I am not well enough versed in what his statistics in Japan were, and I'm also not totally comfortable translating those into Major League statistics, which is to say, I don't know how to contextualize what he did in Japan and put it in context of what a Major League player would have done over the same period of time. So greatest is a complicated word because there have just been players who have just purely based on longevity, have accomplished more at the Major League level. As far as best, he's definitively the best player I've ever seen. It's not even close. And I think you could make a very good argument that he is the best player the sport has seen. I mean, if you're going to factor in the pitching, look, I mean, in my personal opinion, the best baseball players, the best Major League baseball players ever, in whatever order you want to put them, are Willie Mays and Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth was also a dominant pitcher, but he ceased to be a dominant pitcher when he went to the Yankees and just focused exclusively on hitting. If Ohtani is able to pitch again, which everyone suggests to me he's going to. In fact, I've had a lot of people on my show suggest he may pitch in this postseason. I think you could make a really strong argument that he is the best player, post Babe Ruth. In fact, I think you could defend that argument really effectively. So I'm one who always separates best from greatest because best is sort of a subjective thing, and greatest to me is an objective thing. It is just what did a player accomplish, and he hasn't done any high-level winning. Maybe that'll change this year, and he just hasn't been around long enough to accomplish what someone, for example, like Willie Mays did, and any number of others. I mean, if this conversation is being had in St. Louis, you certainly can't say he's accomplished as much as Stan Musial did in the majors or any number of other people. But as far as the best player, if you wanted to argue he's the best player since Babe Ruth, I don't see how anyone would disagree with that.
Hey, Greeny, as we wrap up here, one of the topics that you broach in the book is the top sports talk topics of the last 30 years. And I think that's really interesting because we've had sports radio now since 1987. You're a veteran. I'm a veteran. What did you have near the top for that? Because it seems like we always fall into Michael versus LeBron, and you can always get mileage out of it, and people are still talking about it.
Yes. So once again, I'm finding that topic. I remember who I put at number one, but let me find the. Do you have it in front of you? I will find the. I apologize for stalling here, but I can't. I remember what I put at number one. Anyway, what I put at number one was should baseball players who use PEDs be in the Hall of Fame?
Good one.
That was a topic that got. It was unimaginable to me during the time where that was going on. And, Mike and I were sort of right in the middle of that debate, enough so that we actually were mentioned in the congressional hearing, which remains one of my favorite moments of my life. Senator or a congressman named Elijah Cummings, may he rest in peace, mentioned us while he was questioning Rob Manfred, who at that time was not yet the commissioner of baseball. We put, should PED users be in the Hall of Fame? We put that at number 1. We put Michael versus LeBron at number 2. We put, should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame, at number 3. And we did go through an entire top 10, but those are the top 3. Pete Rose, when I first got into the business, we used to joke, if you're ever in a slow day, nothing is really catching on, you're feeling kind of tired today, just say the words, should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? Here's my phone number.
Right,
and let people call in and take over the rest of the show for you. So that was an early one. It doesn't resonate, obviously, anymore the way it did, back when Rose had played more recently. You really have to have seen Rose play to appreciate why he inspired so much passion from baseball fans. But at its time, I think that was, without question, the number one topic.
And we could talk more about those congressional hearings, but we're not here to talk about the past.
Oh, what a good memory and a well-played line by you. I would do that. We could have that conversation with Sammy Sosa, but he lost the ability to speak English during that period.
Exactly. Hey, Greeny, it's great to hear your voice, and we love what you're doing. We are thrilled that you're doing NFL Countdown, and we know how much you love the NFL. Keep up the great work, and best of luck with the book. We really enjoy it.
Thank you so much. If I could just briefly mention that Amazon is doing a special on the book. One of the things about this, that the feedback that we got a year and a half ago on our book, Got Your Number, was because we had so much in it that it was a very big package and it was quite expensive. So we asked the publisher this time around, we're going to write something that is more compact. Can we do something about the price? So the book is less than $15. It's $14.95. And if you order on Amazon.com right now, again, it's called Got Your Answers. It's marked down even from there. So hopefully that'll make it an easier, more affordable, and easier for more people who would be interested in buying it. And we so appreciate the support and the opportunity to talk about it here.
Have a great weekend, sir. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Mike Greenberg from ESPN. Always good to talk to him and have him with us here on 101 ESPN. Brooke and Randy. Danny is under the weather tonight, today. He'll be back on Tuesday. And Brooke, you had some information about the NHRA over at Worldwide Technology Raceway today. The races have been, at least the practice for tomorrow, has been moved back, right?
At least for today. Yes, at least for today. I was giving that information to you because I know that you will be out there tomorrow.
I am going to be there tomorrow with Folds of Honor from noon to 4. But
it looks like maybe
info.
Tomorrow will be okay. Now, I think that weather-wise, there's potential rain, so you might need to stay alert, second alert weather.
Yeah, just follow them on the socials, though. You can find out all you need to know about the NHRA. Big crowds expected this weekend, by the way, especially Sunday.
And you'll be out there for Folds of Honor.
I will. It'll be fun. Looking forward to it. Coming up next year on 101 ESPN, they said, what?
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals fall yesterday against the Rockies 10-8, failing to complete that sweep. They will start their final series of the season tonight. The 9:15 first pitch as they face off against the San Francisco Giants. Last night, week 4 of the NFL season kicked off with the Cowboys taking down the Giants 20-15. You can catch an NFL tripleheader right here on 101 ESPN this Sunday morning. Pregame starts for Game 1 at 11 a.m. Also on 101 ESPN this weekend is Blues hockey here, your home for the St. Louis Blues as they face off against the Blackhawks tomorrow. That starts with 5 p.m. pregame. And St. Louis City SC is in action this weekend as they host Sporting Kansas City for that rivalry match. That's a 7:30 start for that game. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. See them at londoff.com. Chevy, together we drive. Are you kidding me?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What you talking about?
What the hell are you talking about?
What you talking about?
Do you actually listen to yourself when you speak, or do you find you drift in and out?
What you talking about?
Bro, I'm out, man.
Brooke, Randy, and Rocchio here, and it is time for They Said
What?
Well, guys, as we've talked about throughout the show today, yesterday was a very emotional day for the Oakland A's fans. Their final game at Oakland Coliseum, it was a sold-out crowd. 46,889 total fans were there, and there was plenty of diehard, lifelong fans like this one who went viral on social media for his passionate speech about losing the team that he loves.
My dad didn't know what to do with me, so he brought me here. And we used to walk across that BART bridge to games, and it was like magic. And I watched Dwayne Murphy and Ricky Henderson out there running the outfield, stealing bases, hat flying off. It was beautiful, and that's what made me fall in love with baseball. And then I had a little brother who was 13 years younger than me, and I didn't know what to do with him. So what did I do? I brought him here. I brought him to baseball games. I brought him to opening day. His birthday's in April, and we would come to opening day every year. And when I went away to college, I would send him tickets to opening day every year, and he would call me for the national anthem, and he would call me for the 7th inning stretch, and he would call me for Jason Giambi's first at bat as a Yankee so I could hear the boos. And then when I had kids, I knew what to do with them. And so what did I do? I brought them here. My kids are so at home here. They come in here and they take off their jackets and they drop them in a corner and they run off because they feel like they're at home. Not like they're in a place of 20,000 strangers or 4,000 strangers. And so that's what baseball in Oakland is. This is generations. This is like father to son to brother to child. And you're ripping that away for what? You're trying to fill a stadium with 70% visiting fans? That's ridiculous. Baby Gap, Nepo baby, guy who inherited everything. We work for ours. That's what we do in Oakland. We work. Everything that we have, we work for. This is blue collar. This is who we are, and we want this team to stay.
Round of applause for him. That is something that I feel like a lot of fans can resonate with. One, this is absolutely terrible that Major League Baseball allowed this. This is terrible on John Fisher. I think it is ridiculous if you go out there and try to blame the fans for this. And I hate that it's being framed in this way. Randy, let me just give you a breakdown of the Oakland A's payroll over the years. So in 2004, the Oakland A's payroll, and this is the last season, 2004, before John Fisher took over ownership of the club, it was $59.4 million. This year, in 2024, Oakland's payroll, $62.7 million, bottom in all of baseball. So he took advantage of there not being a salary floor in baseball. We talk about all the time. I understand that a lot of players with a salary floor, then comes a salary cap. But then a salary floor allows a situation like this to happen, where you have an owner who clearly had the money signs in his eyes. He saw the bright lights of Las Vegas and the allure of that, and had a plan clearly all along to move this team to Las Vegas, which, by the way, it's absolutely embarrassing that they will be playing 3 seasons in Sacramento in a minor league League park. I don't care if they're going to renovate it. It is absolutely ridiculous that they will play 3 years in a minor league park in Sacramento while they wait for this move to Las Vegas. Because remember, the plan was to go straight to Las Vegas. But Las Vegas is not even ready for them just yet. They don't even have a plan in place, Randy, for this move to Las Vegas. I think it's a shame. I think it's ridiculous. And to put this on the fans is pathetic. This is on John Fisher. This is on Major League Baseball.
It is a huge internal problem for Major League Baseball. You said their payroll is just over $62 million?
Yes.
Think about this. Together, Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, who both signed their contracts with the Mets, both of those guys are making $43.5 a year. So those two together are making $87 million. Those two together, and the 26 players on the A's are making $62. That is absolutely preposterous. The other part of this that is troublesome is that John Fisher had the opportunity with this franchise to win. He's the second richest owner in baseball, and it's not like he didn't have players. You look at that team that he had 3 years ago. Last year was the first year for Matt Chapman in Toronto and Matt Olson in Atlanta and Sean Murphy and Sean Manaea, the pitcher, and Frankie Montas. They actually had a pretty good team and had an opportunity to win, and rather than exercise an opportunity to win and perhaps keep the team in Oakland, he was dead set on the team leaving, and so he got rid of all of their good players, all of their good veteran players. It's inexcusable, A, for him to be able to maintain this franchise this way, and I think, like you said, it's worse that Major League Baseball allowed this to occur.
It really is. And we're getting some texts in where some people are mentioning the politicians there in Oakland. I do understand to a certain extent. But with what you're saying, Randy, there's been examples, too, of where the owner says, no, we're going to make sure that, yes, you have it. You have that sometimes with local officials. You have that where they push back. They don't want to put it on the taxpayers to pay for a new stadium. We see that time and time again. And then you see the owners make sure. This is a team that's been there for nearly 6 decades, Randy. There is history there. This isn't a new team in Major League Baseball. John Fisher wanted this team to move, and you couldn't convince me otherwise.
Sorry, I had to cough.
You're getting choked up over it.
Oracle Park is 8 miles away across the bay. And the Giants took stadium plans with public financing to the polls 5 different times and were turned down all 5 times, and then finally got tired of going to the voters and asking for money and said, oh, we'll build it ourselves. And they built it, and the fans came, and they built a raucous atmosphere at Oracle Park, and it's still great, and it's still owned by the owners of the Giants, and they've done a magnificent job. They were able to build on their own. The Cardinals, Mark Lamping, he said the most distasteful aspect of his career was trying to work with politicians to get public money to help build a new stadium for the Cardinals. Couldn't get it. Cardinals tried everything. They even threatened to go to DuPont, Illinois. Couldn't get it. So what did they decide to do? They built their own ballpark. Now, they don't have the kind of money that John Fisher has. They have a lot of money, but not John Fisher type money. They were able to build their own downtown ballpark. The Dodgers own Dodger Stadium. They don't seem to be having any financial problems. They seem to be doing okay with the financial situation for their team. There are numerous examples of franchises building their own stadiums or ballparks and their team becoming more valuable. And ownership, these billionaires don't need public tax money to build stadiums. They are capable, as we've seen, to our detriment with Stan Kroenke moving the Rams to LA and building a $6 billion edifice. They're capable of building their own stadiums.
And Randy, what were the Rams and Stan Kroenke doing and the NFL doing in order to really paint this picture of why this move needed to happen? What were they doing out there publicly?
Destroying the franchise. From the time.
And what were they saying about the fans? What were they saying about the city?
Oh, well, they said that even though this is in their little relocation proposal, that book report, 8th grade book report. They said that even though they had spent to the salary cap, that fans had quit coming to games in the numbers they had during the Greatest Show on Turf era.
history repeating itself right here.
Right.
They're putting it on the fans. This is even from Jeff Passan. I don't know if you saw him tweet this out. This is from Jeff Passan. He said, the Oakland A's were killed by greed. Do not allow the people responsible for this to spin it in any other way. John Fisher did not have to move this team. Major League Baseball and its owners did not need to be complicit in it. This was a choice, a wrong one. History will sneer. That is from Jeff Passan. That is somebody who is close to Major League Baseball and everything that is going on, and he wrote that. He put that out there, that this is not just something that was, put on the fans. This is something that's put on John Fisher on Major League Baseball.
And by the way, the DeWitt family is not completely devoid of responsibility here, because some owner, especially the owner of a franchise that saw the NFL team walk away in a load of lies, the owner of a franchise that saw that happen to their city and the fan base that they enjoy, they should have been more proactive in saying, hey, and especially because they built their own stadium, why don't you try this? You can really damage a community, especially a community that's already lost 2 franchises, if you do this. Baseball did not make nearly enough of an effort to get a stadium built.
And that's why I like what that fan said, because I think it's something that a lot of fans everywhere can resonate with. And I think it's something that St. Louisans here can resonate with, especially with having the Rams taken away from them in such a manner like that, is that, and this is where somebody pointed out, why didn't we mention this to Greg Amsinger earlier? We did push back with Greg and what he was saying about this is why it doesn't work out for the fans to take a stance and not show up to games because of this happening. I don't think that's the case. I think that pro sports really relies on the emotional connection between the team and the fan. It's a pact. That's what I was saying. It's a pact. The fans buy in. They care deeply about the team. They buy, the jerseys, the replica jerseys of the player that they like. They go to the games. They invest time, money into that. And then in return, the team is supposed to uphold their end of the bargain and spend money on good players, be a positive and active institution within the community. And for over 5 decades, Oakland fans bought in. They did their part, and they spent money on tickets. They went to the games. They did everything that they could, and they really got screwed in this because this was forces beyond their control. This is not on the fans. This is on John Fisher. This is on Major League Baseball.
That's Brooke. I'm Randy, and we are here till 11 today. Tim McKernan is not in today. Next up, something has Oli Marmol excited about 2025. We're going to tell you what it is next on 101 ESPN.
that the Cardinals are going to give this one more go in terms of Oli Marmol in the dugout as the manager, and we might see some change in his coaching staff. But all I know is this. I talked to Oli Marmol just a couple days ago, actually, last weekend, and he said he's more excited about his job for next year than ever before. And the things you can't get into, but he is so fired up for the plan that has been laid out for next year. So, look, after everything he's heard himself, there's got to be something coming. And if he's fired up for it, hopefully the young players and the young core that he's also been talking a lot about knows that they're going to be pushed to the front and center, and they're the actual team going forward. We'll see what happens. Maybe they're going to spend some more money. I don't know, but the Cardinals apparently, Ken's report is on the money, but the Cardinals have a plan.
With MLB Network's Greg Amsinger earlier today here on 101 ESPN. At about the same time Greg was saying that, a piece by Katie Wu dropped at The Athletic in which a Cardinals staffer was quoted as saying about the system, "We're in trouble. This is not easily fixable within the next year or the year after. This is going to take some time. I don't know how this was blanked up so bad over the years." So you've got Oli telling Greg he's excited about next year, and throughout the organization, multiple people that Katie Wu talked to say this is a major problem that took a while to reach where it is right now, and it's going to take a while to fix.
So what are we getting excited about is my question.
You get to come to work every day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say maybe he knows something that we don't know, but after that article came out, that's really concerning because that doesn't sound fixable for next year. Literally, that is what's being said, is that they don't know how this is going to be fixed in any timely manner. Then you also have Will's Contreras' comments the other day that we've gone over, but just to reiterate what he said there's some areas that need to be addressed. I don't know if the front office is going to, but we didn't come together as an offense at all during the whole year. There's a lot of holes throughout the lineup as well, 1 through 9.
That is notable that a player, a big money player, said that.
So you have a player saying that. You have a unknown staffer for the Cardinals organization saying that there's even more going on behind the scenes and how they don't understand how we got to this point on the player development side. And then you also have these comments, too, that there is stuff to be excited for next season. What exactly should we be excited for next year?
Let's try to deconstruct this, because Wilson isn't seeing the minor league teams, so he's talking about the problems at the major league level, that we've got holes in the lineup 1 through 9. And then you've got staffers saying we've got problems organizationally from a development standpoint that are going to take years to fix. There's only one way to fix to fix the major league problems that ail the Cardinals right now. One of them, we know, is not going to happen. It's by spending a ton of money to bring in free agents or make major trades to enhance the ability and competitive level of the players that you have on hand. This is not 2000 when Walt Jocketty was able to go get Jim Edmonds as his new center fielder, Edgar Renteria as his new shortstop, Fernando Vina as his new second baseman, Mike Matheny as his new catcher, Andy Bennis, Pat Henkin, Darryl Kyle as new starting pitchers, Dave Fears as a new closer. You aren't going to be able to make dramatic changes like that and turn a team that was a losing team into a winning team that quickly. So, what can you do? You know you have a group of talented players because everybody in baseball is asking for them. What you do is go out, if you're smart, again, and find the best coaches that you can. Now, that being said, you already have a group of coaches at the major league level that have coached at the minor league level. I don't know if the Cardinal loyalty will allow them to replace the coaches that they have at the major league level. But that's the one thing that you can do. And by the way, Katie notes in her piece that the Cardinals, and we've noted this before, that the Cardinals don't have a minor league catching coordinator. They don't have a minor league base running coordinator. They don't have a minor league outfield coordinator, infield, outfield, or catching or base running. I'll throw in the base running part. Nor do they employ any full-time roving instructors or any full-time coordinator positions in Latin America. So if you aren't teaching your young players how to play, how do you expect them to be polished once they reach the major league level?
Well, and then it's a little less shocking when you realize why Jordan Walker has struggled with that at the major league level. Nolan Gorman still in the minors. Ivan Herrera, we have talked extensively about his issues behind the plate. Even the Cardinals have said that themselves. How they didn't identify it sooner, well, there's your answer right there.
Yeah, it's fundamentals, right?
It is. It's fundamentals. And you're getting passed by so many other teams in the league. We've talked about this before, but even within your own division, like that's always the expectation is the Cardinals should be able to win their division. Expectations have always been higher than that too, but you should be doing that at least. And the Brewers have been able to really withstand that. And we had somebody question it earlier because I brought up the proactive versus reactive. And then there's also another layer to this with patience with the Brewers and having the foresight to see also the plan, while it might deviate and while it may change, having the foresight of being able to look ahead and say, okay, well, this is the moves that we need to make. Jackson Churio, what they did with him, signing him early, that's being proactive.
Yep.
That is also trusting your player development. That is trusting your player assessment and knowing that it would be able to work out.
And then Turang has not had a great second half, but recognizing that talent in Bryce Turang and letting him grow at the major league level. They've done a lot of really good things in Milwaukee. Let me give you one more paragraph. And Katie's story is fascinating, but let me give you one more paragraph here. Over the past 3 seasons, plenty of Cardinals prospects have floundered in the major leagues. Though Walker has been the most prominent case, others in the organization found examples in Gorman, Zach Thompson, Matthew Liberatore, and Ivan Herrera. Quote, fundamentals, one staffer said, is where we're seeing guys really take a hit. I mean, these guys do not know the fundamentals of the game. That's a direct quote from a Cardinal staffer, which is damning for the organization. That's Brooke. I'm Randy, and we're here until 11 today.
We are, yes.
Yeah, no T-Mac today, and Ajax is off too, right?
Yep.
Matthew. So it's us. It's Matthew, Brooke, Randy. Dan is under the weather, and we've got week 4 NFL storylines coming your way next on 101 ESPN. Football League storylines. The Vikings at the Packers. It's a noon game on Sunday, and it's on CBS. Vikings at Packers, normally a Fox game, but you get to see it on CBS. And Brooke, Jordan Love was a limited participant in practice yesterday, and head coach Matt LaFleur says we're going to go right down to the wire right before game time to determine whether or not Jordan Love can play. If he participated even on a limited basis in practice yesterday and participates again today, I will be mildly stunned. I guess you can't be mildly stunned. I'll be surprised if he doesn't go on Sunday.
Do you think that's the best thing, though? Obviously, they know more than we do, but I'm just saying, what's the rush? Maybe give a little bit more time until you're 100% that he's ready to go?
It's because you're playing the Vikings.
Yeah.
You don't want to play Malik Willis against the Vikings. If it was anybody else, not anybody else, you don't want to do it against the Lions either. But if it were against a lesser team, all due respect to your Tennessee Titans. If it were against the Titans, again, you'd play Willis.
Yeah, that was a revenge game for Malik Willis.
Oh, it was, yeah.
So you're telling me that Malik Willis isn't the same as Jordan Love? But Randy, he's been able to keep getting them wins. It's on him, right?
It's from that great Titans scouting staff that took him with a third. Was he a second or a third round choice?
I think
third rounder, right?
Yeah, he was third.
Yeah.
That was a time, Randy.
So Jordan Love is a storyline this weekend, and I think that if Jordan Love plays, the game is at Lambeau. I think if Jordan Love plays, the Packers are the favorites. I think if he doesn't, the Vikings are the favorites. That's how big of a factor, obviously, quarterback is in this game.
Are you shocked by what Sam Darnold has been able to do with the Vikings this year? Because I think that if you're talking about one of the more surprising teams and storylines of the NFL this year, it has to be the Vikings. People thought there would be a pretty big drop-off, but Sam Darnold really has stepped in, and this has been a redemption tour for him.
I'm not surprised at all. I thought that he went to a horrible place when he got drafted by the Jets. I have always, even at USC, I liked his talent. I liked his arm talent. I liked his demeanor. He's clearly a smart guy. Couldn't have gone to a worse situation than he did when he went to Carolina for his second stop. He and Mayfield there together. And as we know, Carolina is an absolute dumpster fire. Saved his career by getting to San Francisco to back up Purdy last year, work with Kyle Shanahan, work with Brian Griese, get his fundamentals back, just get a chance to decompress and learn how to play quarterback again. I'm not surprised at all that he's accomplishing that Sam Darnold is accomplishing what he's accomplishing.
So my NFL storyline for this weekend will be the Bengals versus the Panthers this weekend. Huge. I think that we have a contender versus a pretender here, but who exactly is real and who is fake, Randy? Because we saw that Andy Dalton, when he was able to step in, he's actually done pretty well in that first game. He was the first signal caller. This is just absolutely wild. We talk about how just bad passing is right now in the NFL this season and how low it's been. He became the first signal caller to throw 300-plus yards and 3 touchdowns in a game this season in the NFL. That is absolutely shocking. But is this real with Andy Dalton and the Panthers? And then you have the Bengals on the other side who are off to an 0-3 start. Now, I will say, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And I've seen that there's been talk about this on some of the ESPN shows. I know they have to fill time where people try to discredit Joe Burrow. If you watch that game, it was not on Joe Burrow that they lost that game against the Washington Commanders. Joe Burrow was 29 of 38 with 324 yards and 3 touchdowns in that 38-33 loss, so it was close. It was on the Bengals defense who couldn't handle Washington and Jane Daniels and their running game. That's who it was on. It was not on Joe Burrow. So all this talk about Joe Burrow and him not being able to get back to form, I'm not buying into that. So I believe more in the Bengals in this situation than the Panthers and what they're doing with Andy Dalton.
I do too. I can't imagine that group of Panthers players will be able to accomplish that again. And what Andy Dalton and Deontay Johnson did last week was great. Give him credit for it.
Fantastic for, bench player-wise. Johnson was on my bench, and imagine if I would put him in.
But they didn't succeed because they're really good players. They just had their moment in the sun. It's the any given Sunday aspect of the NFL, and that was their any given Sunday. Cincinnati should win this game.
Exactly. Do you have any questions about Joe Burrow being an elite quarterback?
I think if the Bengals would put Joe Burrow on the market and say, okay, he's available for 2 first-round draft choices, they'd get calls from 20 teams or more. I don't have any questions about Joe Burrow. I think he's great.
Yeah.
And I think most of the league would agree with that.
Just kind of a sidestep, though. Jaden Daniels and what he's been able to do, I think that really he's been the steal of the draft. in the NFL draft.
With the second pick, right?
And you knew that. If you watched him in the SEC and what he was able to do, he is super talented, and you could see that transferring over to the NFL.
Yeah, the one thing I hope is that he doesn't wind up being RG3. Now, they don't have the bad ownership now in Washington anymore, but let him be a quarterback like Lamar Jackson and let him run when he needs to rather than designing run plays for him. Brooke, let me give you one other sneaky storyline that people aren't talking about this week in the NFL, and that is the Broncos at the Jets. Jets are a 7.5-point favorite. And last year, Aaron Rodgers missed out on his opportunity to run the score up on Sean Payton because Payton had taken shots at Rodgers' hand-picked offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, the former head coach of the Broncos. Those two play this weekend, and Rodgers is back. Don't you kind of think that if Rodgers gets the opportunity to stick it to Sean Payton that he's going to?
Yeah, 100%. I think so. I think he's going to do everything he can. You're telling me Aaron Rodgers is a guy that maybe holds a grudge or two?
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to happen.
He doesn't talk to his own family. He holds a grudge.
Right.
I'm going to answer my own question.
Yeah, so I think that's a really underrated storyline for this weekend. Jets favored by 7.5, and I think if Rodgers has his way, they'll cover that spread. Those are your NFL Week 4 storylines here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, really scary news if you're a Cardinal fan from Katie Woo's piece this morning. We'll have that scary news for you next on 101 ESPN. There's more. I hate to tell you. There's more.
Are you just talking about like us doing the show, or? No. There's more from Katie's article. Gotcha. Okay, sorry.
Okay, so I'm telling you that. Well, we've told you a lot of stuff, a lot of quotes and stuff, right? Haven't we?
This has been a day of quotes and things being said, Randy.
So the Cardinals, I said if you want to fix things quickly, that one of the things that you could do is dramatically turn over the coaching staff. And I guess the Cardinals are not planning to do that. According to Katie Woo, there is mutual interest in bringing back every single coach on the staff. The coaches have interest, and the Cardinals have interest in bringing back the entire coaching staff that is in the dugout or on the field right now.
I know that pauses and silence is bad in radio, Randy, but I really don't know what to say to that. What are we doing here? That's all I have to say is, what are we doing here? What changes? What is your reaction to all this? I just gave you my reaction, the long pause and shock. What is your reaction to this?
I'm trying to think of a reason why, and I can only think of one reason why a franchise would dramatically cut costs like this. Why would any business cut costs the way the Cardinals are cutting costs? The only thing that I can think of logically is that they're trying to make the bottom line attractive for somebody who might be interested in purchasing said business. Can you think of another reason?
They're scared about the bottom line because the TV money isn't guaranteed anymore.
Also gives you another reason why you don't want to deal with that anymore.
Isn't guaranteed to the same level it was 3 years ago, looking forward to the future. Like there are other reasons they could be pulling back the payroll, but you're not wrong at the same time. Like both things can be true.
You're not wrong, and it also kind of seems in line with recent examples that we have seen across the league in Major League Baseball, a recent one that we talked about earlier. I am just shocked that they will be running it back and that it will be the same thing over and again. But to your point, Randy, of what you're saying about it kind of indicates that. It reminds me of what Mike Shannon said, not right before he had passed away, that he heard those rumors that they were looking to sell the team. And remember, Mike Shannon, he stuck to his guns about that statement, too.
Yeah, he did. Here is the entire paragraph, by the way, from Katie Woo's piece at The Athletic. Bench coach Daniel Descalso is signed through 2025, as is pitching coach Dusty Blake. Oh, that's his name. Third base coach Pop Warner signed an extension through 2026 in spring training, shortly after Marmol. 5 coaches are up for negotiation after the season. Hitting coaches Turner Ward and Brandon Allen, game planning coach Packy Elkins, first base coach Stubby Clapp, and assistant pitching coach Julio Rangel. Though the Cardinals were one of the National League's worst offensive teams this season, there is mutual interest in retaining all of this year's coaching staff, including the hitting coaches.
Wow. Here's my biggest issue. Okay, so we now know, based on the reporting from Katie Woo and the comment from Greg, that a lot of things are staying status quo, but the expectation is that there are going to be changes in the offseason that should make you happy about 2025. What has this group currently in power done for the last 5 years that gives you any confidence that they're the right group of people to fix their own mistakes from the last 5 years? How are St. Louis fans supposed to get excited about a retool, a rebuild, whatever you want to call it, being led by the same people who got you to this point, where in the article from Katie Woo, it's bleeped beyond all recognition, essentially? It was one of the quotes. So how is the group that got us to bleeped beyond all recognition the one who are going to pull us out? How is that supposed to get St. Louis fans excited?
I don't know how Cardinal fans could be excited unless they've got a major move up their sleeve, and there's been no reason to believe that they have a very exciting move up their sleeve. I've seen no indication that they're going to make a dramatic move in free agency. As a matter of fact, I've been told by people in the organization quite the opposite, that they are not going to make a major move with trades or free agency. So, as you termed it, Brooke, it looks like they're going to run it back, not only with the same group of players, but the same group of coaches in 2025.
And we talked about this. I think a lot of people can buy into the youth movement if you make other changes within the organization. We talked about the coaching staff, especially in the minor league system, how little of resources there are to help develop players. And I think it also is very clear how we get to this point where we wonder, well, why isn't Jordan Walker working out here? Why isn't, this young player working out? Why are we sending Nolan Gorman back down to the minors? I think that you can point to, obviously, because of the lack of resources and coaching that is in the minors leads you to this point with where you are supposed to be getting the most out of your players. I just do not understand what exactly will change. What gives people hope? You're in the business of selling hope, right? You're also in the business of selling tickets, getting fans to be bought into what you're trying to build here. What can they say or do that would get people to buy back into that?
I don't think there's anything. The actions speak louder than words. They would have to do something, and doesn't appear that they want to do it. I find this article to be, while incredibly enlightening and well done, it's also quite depressing if you're a Cardinal fan.
It is, because then the reality is starting to set in of, wow, okay, it's going to be the same thing for next season, and not just the next season. This article wasn't your takeaway that this isn't just a next season thing. This is something that we are kind of locking into for the foreseeable future.
If you're going to hire, the Dodgers aside, somebody from the Rays organization to run your baseball ops, and as we talked earlier, it appears from this piece that Chaim Bloom is going to do that. Chaim Bloom has been tasked with finding the Cardinals' next director of player development, which is ordinarily the job of a president of baseball operations. So I'm guessing that after John Mozeliak is done in 2025, that Chaim Bloom will take over. What do we know about the Tampa Bay model?
They like low payroll and keeping things cheap, and they also don't like to sign big-name players or keep big-name players.
Not many resources, not many stars.
Yes.
That would seem to be in line with everything that's happening here, that the Cardinals would put a player or a Pobo in place that has succeeded without resources in the past and put him in place and try to do the same thing in St. Louis.
But there is a positive from the Rays that we can look at. Despite everyone telling them to, they refuse to move their ballpark. So,
that's true.
Hey, if we can keep that part of the Rays down, I'll roll with it, baby, because
until they were told they couldn't split time with Montreal.
Or when they were doing, exactly.
Right.
Let's not go into that part.
It was kind of like
keeping the park where people don't expect you to.
Well, it's kind of like getting denied on a date, right? It was, you ask somebody on a date. I'm married, but I'm talking about you ask somebody on a date, and then they say, "No, I don't want to." Well, I didn't want to date you anyways. That's literally like what happened there with the Rays in Montreal situation.
I also think they got to say something, because you're dealing now with a fan base that is reactive to the word sale. You hear that word now, and obviously baseball's talking about Portland, Salt Lake City, Nashville, whatever. You have a fan base that is not that is tender. There is a soft spot that is being poked at right now, and you have to realize that you are this is a reactive, hurt fan base, and you have to know that if these rumors are circling, and you got to be, again, this is the word of the day. I feel like you got to be proactive, and but again, they haven't been. In their development, they haven't been between the white lines. I'm not expecting them to be in the PR either.
This isn't even being reactive. This is just kind of settling at this point. It's
well,
complacency.
That's the thing. That's a great, settling is a great term, because for many, many years, well, let's start with this. When Whitey was the manager, they didn't have outrageous payrolls. They just had a manager that got more out of a franchise, out of a group of players than he really should have. Then you hire Tony La Russa, and they punched above their weight class for a long time financially, because they had the huge crowds and they were able to get a lot done with money because of the McGuire acquisition. It appears now that they're going back to being what they are in terms of market size. It appears that they're acting like a mid-market team. They were a mid-market team that participated as a high mid revenue team. Now it doesn't appear that that's the case. It appears that they're going to play, they're going to swim in the same lake as the Reds, the Brewers, the Twins, the Guardians, the Pirates, the same market sizes. See, it feels like they're acting that way now.
Yeah, and you have a lot of history here with the Cardinals. That's the part that is so just disappointing, is that you have a statue, Stan Musial, right? Right there, right outside of your stadium. You have a rich history of just amazing players, a fan base that is completely dedicated. And I cannot put this on the fans. I think it's shameful for anybody who tries to put this on the fans. I just think back to the quote that has just stuck with me when you're talking about market size. And I think there's been a lot of quotes and a lot of indications to what you were talking about there too. But in particular, that interview with Bill DeWitt III and with Martin Kilcoyne, where he was asked about, people kind of taking a stance and not showing up. And what was his response? The response was, well, if they want the payroll to go up, if they want, all this certain kind of stuff. I can't remember exactly what it was. Maybe you can remember it more off the top of your head, but that it's really not going to do anything because payroll will then just go down if people are not showing up to the games. That was a response that I think shocked a lot of people and also hit a lot of fans of, wow, okay, so this is really how you view this fan base then. If we don't show up because we're not seeing obviously an exciting product on the field, then we're the ones who are going to have to suffer from this.
It's a vicious circle, business is.
It is.
And if you aren't making money, then how do you spend it?
Exactly.
How do you spend money you don't have?
Yeah.
They aren't in the business of losing money. That's not how you become a billionaire. So it is a vicious circle. One thing is very clear, though. If the Cardinals are not making as much, they aren't going to spend more.
And they've made that clear.
Yeah.
And I think that spending-wise, they have spent money. We've talked about that. They have spent money. It's just they haven't spent it well.
Right. They haven't spent very smartly.
Yes.
And now it appears that not smartly spent money is not even going to be spent.
So we're just going to add to the coaching staff if we're not going to change anything?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
This is really a lot to take it on a Friday.
It is.
Friday news dump. This is a deep Friday news dump.
One more thing. I get the point. They apparently have a plan, but if we're sitting here next week and St. Louis fans, like a casual St. Louis Cardinal fan, wouldn't be able to put a mic drop or a text into our show explaining what the Cardinals' plan is, then they have failed. If a fan cannot explain and articulate what the Cardinals' plan is after they have that press conference, which I'm expecting happens like Monday, then they have failed. Bottom line.
Yep. A lot going on with the Redbirds. And Greg Amsinger, he was fired up. Speaking of fans, he was fired up about the fans in Oakland and fans in general this morning here on 101 ESPN. I think he might get you fired up next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals start their last series of the season tonight as they face off against the San Francisco Giants. They are on the coast, so it's a late game, 9-10 for the first pitch. Also in action this weekend, St. Louis City SC. They have a big rivalry matchup as they host Sporting Kansas City down at City Park on Saturday night. 7:30 is the kickoff for that game. Speaking of kickoff, we have a triple header right here on 101 ESPN, starting with an 11 a.m. pregame on Sunday. And Blues and Blackhawks right here on your home for the St. Louis Blues as the preseason rolls on tomorrow night with a 5 p.m. start. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
To not attend games, to not go, because you're going to put your flag in the ground and go, we're making a statement as fans. We're going to make it, you're actually falling into the plan. You're not fighting back. If you want to hold on to your organization, if you really love your team, you got to go to the games. You've got to attend a big league sporting event. There's a responsibility for an organization's success that's on the hands of the fans. If you don't go, opposing players notice how lame it is to go into your venue and play a Major League Baseball game. Those opposing players are eventually free agents. And if you're wondering why you can't land any free agents, and I get it in the case of the Oakland A's, they're not spending any money. I'm just saying, for other fans out there that were paying attention to what happened in Oakland, going to the games changes everything about the culture of your organization. It impacts things that you're not even aware of.
Greg Amsinger earlier today here on 101 ESPN, and there are parts of what Greg said that I agree with, and I have said here on our air before. But that being said, I have learned a lot in my time, and I have evolved. And while the Rams were here down the stretch, I said that you need to convince the other owners. You should go to games to show the other owners that, hey, St. Louis is a supportive football town. But it didn't matter. We could have sold out every game, and that team was gone.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. All that matters is what the owner wants to do, and John Fisher wants to move his team. Stan Kroenke wanted to move his team. So going to the games doesn't matter. Does it put on a good show for people? Yeah, but that's all it is a show. It doesn't matter how well you support a franchise. There's no better supported franchise or no better fans in the NFL than Cleveland Browns fans. But Art Modell couldn't get a stadium there, needed more cash, and moved the franchise to Baltimore. So while what Greg says in theory is correct, in reality, it just doesn't apply because we as fans, unfortunately, are serving at the whim of mercurial owners.
Exactly. And if you look at the Oakland A's at this example, pointing out the payroll, just once again, just to reiterate this, in 2004, the Oakland A's payroll, $59.4 million. 2004 was the last season before John Fisher took over. This year, Oakland A's payroll bottom in all of baseball, $62.7 million. 59.4 in 2004, and it only jumps to 62.7 million in 2024. Randy, how long behind the scenes do you think this was going on with John Fisher and this move to Las Vegas? How long?
When did he take over sole ownership from Lou Wolf? They owned it together, and then what year was it? 2014? Has it been a decade? I believe it has. So probably for a decade that the skids have been greased out of Oakland.
And don't you think that fans were very well aware of what was going on? So it's hard to show up when you know what is actually going on, what the plans are. And specifically with your example for the Rams, what the Rams did and what Stan Kroenke did was that they really tried to paint this picture of fans are not supportive. Look at how bad the city is. Look at how unsupportive people are. Of course we have to move, right? We have to be able to do this. The people here are not helping us. That is how they frame things. How long behind the scenes, from everything that you learned and everything that you were able to uncover, how long was Stan Kroenke working on that move to L.A.?
The Cardinals were having opening day of 2010 and we were broadcasting at the ballpark when the announcement came down that Stan had pulled the rug out from under Shad Khan and was going to buy the franchise himself from the Rosenblum family. From that point on, opening day of the Cardinals' 2010 season until the franchise moved on January 12th of 2016, St. Louis had no chance to retain that franchise. That's how long it was going on. I know that Demoff and Kroenke might say, oh, no, it was 2013. But Stan, it wasn't 2013 because Stan was driving around L.A. looking for plots of land. From 2010 on, when you look at the way, just look at the way they handled the football aspect of things. Having a first pick in the draft quarterback, never getting a legitimate left tackle, never getting a legitimate receiver for him. When you look at the way that Kroenke never spoke to the media from 2010 on, the only time he ever spoke to the media was when he hired Jeff Fisher and wouldn't communicate about what his future desires were, would never say, we're doing everything we can to keep the team in St. Louis. And then when you look at his actions, never met the mayor, never talked to the governor. All of those things make you now know that from 2010 on, this franchise was gone. And I'm sure that it was the exact same way with the Oakland Athletics.
Exactly. Fans are aware of those things. Things start to come to the surface. And what was happening publicly is he was trying to show, well, look at the stands. Nobody's showing up. Look at this. These fans aren't supportive. Of course we have to move. We have to move to a place like Las Vegas. Oh, gosh, I wonder why you want to move to Las Vegas. Oh, I wonder why you want to move to L.A. Also, look at the other day. I'm sure that you saw this, Randy, but look at the amount of fans from other teams that show up to the L.A. Rams games.
That's the way Vegas baseball will be, too.
Exactly. And that's what that fan said earlier. I just think it's absolutely shameful. There is no way in any capacity that you could put this on fans.
No.
This was completely out of their control, just like the Rams situation. I thought they brought this question up earlier. I was trying to find the text. It was a really great point. They were asking, why do we have more national media speaking out about the Oakland A's as opposed to what happened with the Rams here in St. Louis?
Because this is the brilliance of the NFL. The NFL owns the media, all right? You hate to say, air quotes, the media. But look at the biggest partnerships that networks have. All of them, they have the NFL. The golden goose for networks is the NFL. They don't want to do anything to piss the NFL off, so they're going to talk about the fact that it is a cartel. And you never heard Peter King talk about it or saw him write about it. You never saw Adam Schefter. Obviously, you were never going to see anybody with NFL Network, Albert Breer, any of those guys. They all worked for networks that televised the NFL. Baseball isn't as powerful as the National Football League is. The NFL got Bob Costas fired by NBC because he did an essay on concussions at halftime of a game that they didn't agree with. So they went to NBC and said, yeah, we prefer that this guy not be on our telecast anymore. He was gone. That's how powerful the National Football League is. And nobody in baseball has that sort of juice.
It's almost like the Royal National Media or the Royal Media that they have there, where they really will not put out any negative stories about the monarchy.
Right. Okay, one quick note here before we come back, and we've got Roccio's Hill to die on. Somebody says, no offense to your coworkers, which you could also say with all due respect to your coworkers, which allows you to say anything you want. This is a text from the 314. No offense to your coworkers, but the 10 o'clock hour is so much better with the OD crew. I'm telling you, I think the 10 o'clock hour is so much better with the balloon party crew. I think
we need to put that statement out there.
Yeah, it is.
We really do.
Better.
So much better.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah, the 10 to 11 with Tim McKernan and Action Jackson is way better than anything we can accomplish
let's
here.
just make this really clear.
No doubt about it.
Yes. We definitely, please come back.
Yep. Thank you very much for the text. We do appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
Coming up, we've got Rocc's Hill to dry on here on 101 ESPN. Sometimes we have a little game here at our text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO! We can respond to you, and sometimes we have what we call fun with texters. And we got a text that says, from the 314, because St. Louis stole the Rams from L.A., don't say it was completely different. And I responded simply with, it was completely different.
What year were the A's established as a franchise at first in Oakland?
57 years ago.
Okay, but and they were that was the first place they were the Oakland A's. That was the first place they started.
No,
right?
They started in Philly,
and they didn't have a history in Philly. Like they didn't have a deep rooted in history in Philadelphia.
They did. They had Connie Mack, I believe.
They didn't win. It's not like they won it's not like they won 5 championships.
They won championships there, Matthew. They did.
We found out in the fight earlier this week. They won 5 championships when they were in Philadelphia.
They were in Kansas City too. They were the Kansas City A's for a while too.
It seems like it's a little similar then.
Yeah. I don't know.
Just saying.
The Rams started in Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken, and they moved to Los Angeles.
This feels a little similar.
It kind of does. Here's the one thing. I'm not even going to get into it. I was just
come on. That was a tease.
Okay, so when the Rams moved from Los Angeles to St. Louis, they never offered a viable stadium plan to Georgia Frontier. That's what she wanted, was a viable, even an upgrade plan to their stadium, and they never offered it, and she called their bluff. They said, oh, you won't move? And she said, yes, I will, and she did. She wound up moving the team here, and if she wouldn't have moved it here, she would have moved it to Baltimore, and L.A. didn't try to keep the franchise. And then, when the franchise went back to L.A., St. Louis and Missouri basically built the exact same financing plan that U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis has, identical, the absolute identical stadium financing plan, but rather than take the public money, they decided to spend their own money 100% and build a stadium in L.A. So that's the difference.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a hill to die on here today?
It's a small one. It's a little hill. Honestly, it's in the same umbrella of a lot of my hills to die on, which has been it's another traffic one. Okay, because this one's pretty simple, guys. Okay,
I can't wait.
There are these things on the road that are they're painted on there so that they're always there, and you're supposed to follow them. They're the lines on the road tell you where your car is supposed to go. And so, like when you're making a turn, usually a left-hand turn, sometimes there's a dotted line throughout the turn that tells you what is your commiserate lane that you're supposed to turn into. It's right there. It tells you. All you got to do is follow the lines. So tell me why every other time I'm making a left-handed turn in this city where there's 2 left-hand turn lanes, why I am put in immediate jeopardy for my life and livelihood and the stability of my car because some jackwagon decides I'm in the right lane of this left turn, of these 2 left turn lanes, but I'm going to finish in the left side lane of the actual road we're all turning into. And I'm just going to kind of switch lanes halfway through, despite all these dotted white lines and the fact that there's cars in the space that my car is now going to be entering. And so just if everyone just followed the lines that you turn into and you turn into the lane you're supposed to turn into, we can all get through with our day, and I'm not going to have to have my car crash because some jerk on Jefferson, as I try to go to the city game, decides that they don't need to go into the far right lane, despite the fact that they start in the far right lane. They need the middle lane that day.
You're assuming that everybody's paying attention.
I feel like you should be when you have a 2,000-pound machine at your feet that is going 60 miles per hour and can end lives.
Yeah. It does scare me when people just willy-nilly just go into lanes. No turn signal, just nothing. Yeah,
the whole blinker thing, that's a completely different hill, Brooke.
What?
I'm on top of a different hill. I'm saying we can talk.
You don't like blinkers?
No. You should use your blinker.
Okay, good.
But I'm saying that's a very different hill that we have to climb up to and deal with. I'm on the stay in the white lines. And the other one is this. When you're making a left turn, make the left turn in the lane you're supposed to. Don't cut off the lane that you're turning into, because inevitably you're thinking, no, there's never a car there when I make a left turn. I can cut into that turn lane that's come in the cross street. No. Eventually, when you're not paying attention, a car will be there, and then you will end up taking out their front end completely, because the amount of times I see people make a left turn and just completely take out the the other turn lane in the cross-section street every single day. Just take the turn a little bit wider and go all the way around the road. That way no one crashes into each other. It's really easy, guys. There's lanes.
That is a small
the job's
hill to
easy.
die
It's
on.
kind of like coloring inside of the lines when you're learning how to color. You don't get through kindergarten if you go outside the lines. You shouldn't be able to drive if you go outside the lines.
Right. So back in the day, before road rage became a really popular thing,
Before it was in.
people started shooting other people because of road rage. If somebody would not use their blinker, I would follow them into a store or something.
Randy, that's
I would.
what?
No, here's what I would do. It was great. It was the most passive-aggressive fun thing ever. I'd say, hey, your blinker bulb is out.
You would actually follow people into stores.
Yeah.
That is road rage, Randy. If you would follow
because
somebody
I was
into
being
the
friendly
store.
and smiling, and I wanted them to know. And then they would think to themselves, "Oh, I didn't use my blinker." So that hopefully that I could teach them that they weren't using their blinker in a manner that I assumed that they were smart when they were really idiots.
Randy, I cannot believe you actually did that.
Oh yeah, I did. So, all right, we got the weekend coming up.
I'm going to the City game. It's a big game this weekend. I'll call it the correct name, Derby Q. Even though it's
playoff implications. What are the playoff implications?
They've both been eliminated for a week.
Okay, yeah, not that big.
Sorry, City's been eliminated for a week. Kansas City's been eliminated for 2 weeks.
Oh, we win.
Suck it, we win.
Yeah.
But I will go down to the game, and I go out of the game. I get down there. I go just past Market, get off on that 22nd Jefferson Street exit, and inevitably, when I go to make a left turn, I will try to get into the middle of the 3 lanes.
Okay.
And somebody in the far right lane will inevitably take the middle spot, and I'll have to go to the left lane, and then I got to work my way back over to make a right turn eventually.
Frustrating.
Follow the lines, people.
There you go.
It's not that hard.
Great job by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocc. Have a good weekend, sir. Thank you.
I'll try. Pleasure.
Brooke, did you have fun?
Yes,
you
I
looking
did.
forward to the dumplings?
Oh, so as soon as Joey V started talking about dumplings, and there was a difference. So he was talking about soup dumplings. I was talking about gyozas, 2 different things. As soon as he said that, I texted my husband. I said, we're getting soup dumplings right after the show. So that is where I'm heading.
And he said?
Yes.
He said, I'm in.
Very quickly. It took him like a millisecond to respond, Randy.
Good. Have a great weekend.
You too.
And we thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of this fine program. For all of us, we hope you have a great weekend. And until Monday morning at 7, don't just have a great weekend. Have an American weekend.